Chapter 2027. Luli realized that he had underestimated the heroes in the world. Those who could become patriarchs of major forces must have their own unique means. Yen Hong and the other two had made a name for themselves a long time ago. Without special means, they would have been killed or stripped of their positions as patriarch. Clearly, the bowl was a powerful artifact. Luli was covered in it, and the seal on it prevented him from flying out. The only way to get out was to break the bowl. Boom, boom, boom. Luli tried to punch. He was strong and he wanted to see if he could break the bowl. The result was the same as the Slayer's ghost slash. The seal on the bowl was too strong for Luli to crack. Whoosh! That patriarch flew over and stood on top of the bowl. He tried his best to activate the bowl. It glowed brighter and the dark and yellow air was thicker. The dark and yellow air is corroding my divine energy. Luli's heart skipped a beat. The bowl was indeed a piece of artifact. He made up his mind and punched at the bowl again. However, the bowl only made a muffled noise and continued to press down. Bastard, my artifact is a replica of a holy weapon. It is broken, but I have refined many seals on it. You want to break it? In your dreams. Just wait to be refined into pus and blood while you're alive. The Black Flame Hall Elder's lips curled into a cruel smile as he shouted. The sound traveled in and echoed in the broken bowl, making Luli's eardrums hurt. What? The bowl fell upside down into the sea. It was as if a boulder had been smashed down. Waves of 10,000 feet were stirred up. There were scouts hiding at the bottom of the sea. They ran away in fright at once. Immortals were fighting and such powerful artifacts were being used. They would be implicated if they stayed nearby. This bowl is impressive. The Slayer of Hell is going to be melted alive. Such a shame. The Slayer of Hell has black tortoise fruit. If we can get one, we can sell it at a high price. Not necessarily. The Slayer of Hell has said that the black tortoise fruit is not with him. The black tortoise fruits are not with him. If he dies, all the black tortoise fruits will be destroyed. The hundreds of soldiers of the heavenly Devil Island were discussing among themselves. Everyone's divine senses were locked on that broken bowl in the distance. When they saw the three elders rushing down with the broken bowl, they all sighed with emotion. As far as they were concerned, Luli would inevitably fall into the trap of refinement and death now that he was trapped. Axe Demon stood there lazily and didn't say anything. It was as if he was simply watching the show. Soon, Luli was subdued. Soon, he was thousands of miles under the sea. The armies on the island could no longer detect him with psychic power. Many people wanted to go down and watch, but the Axe Demon didn't say anything. Nobody dared to move. It's almost done, right? On the other side, Luli realized that he was being suppressed at the bottom of the sea. He made up his mind. He was prepared to use godly metal. If he did not use godly metal, he would be refined by the broken bowl. Only by using godly metal would he be able to break open the large bowl and escape with his life, as well as kill one or two elders. At this moment, he was already 10,000 kilometers away from the bottom of the ocean, and the nearby scouts had probably all been frightened away. The possibility of him using the godly metal and being discovered was very low. Good chance kill. Luli activated the trace of godly Tao and sensed. He found a patriarch above the broken bowl. Next to him was another patriarch with the evil king's halberd, glaring at him. Yen Hong was on a battleship nearby. Luli took out the godly metal and activated it at once. All the divine energy in his body was absorbed by the godly metal in an instant. A surge of horrifying chi and energy spread out. Luckily, the broken bowl covered most of the chi and energy. Otherwise, the might of the godly metal could be transmitted to thousands of miles away. Break. Luli swung the godly metal and smashed it at the bottom of the bowl. With a muffled sound, the bowl was torn apart. It could not even survive for a moment. The patriarchs above and nearby were stunned. While they were still in a daze, Luli dashed out and swung the godly metal at them. Bang! The patriarch controlling the broken bowl was smashed into a mist of blood. The godly metal flew out and landed on another patriarch's head. Crack! The patriarch was smashed away. His head was cracked, but he didn't turn into a mist of blood. Clearly, Luli had not poured enough divine energy into the godly metal. The godly metal was not as powerful as it was when it killed the first patriarch. Whoosh! Luli leaped out like a dragon or a tiger and dashed to the patriarch whose head was smashed. He swung his fists and powerful energy surged out from his 720 acupoints. He smashed the heads of the patriarchs controlling the evil king halberd. This patriarch was seriously injured and his head was cracked. He didn't even have time to react when Luli came over. He was killed. Two voices of surprise came out. One was from Yen Hong on the battleship and the other was from Axe Demon on the island. The scouts nearby were scared off. The other warriors on the island could not see what was going on down there. Therefore, only Yen Hong and Axe Demon could sense the chi and energy of Lu Li's godly metal. Yen Hong was astonished. Lu Li was being suppressed just now. Now? He broke out of the bowl and killed 2 patriarchs at once? How could he believe what he was seeing? Axe Demon was not shocked because Lu Li killed 2 patriarchs, but because of the might of the godly metal. Granted, most of the might was covered by the broken bowl. Still, when the godly metal killed the first patriarch, the might still made Axe Demon tremble. Axe Demon was experienced and knowledgeable. Naturally, he knew that the godly metal was extraordinary. It's over, that was the second thought in Yen Hong's mind. Luli broke the bowl so easily and killed 2 patriarchs. Then it would be too easy for Luli to kill Yen Hong. Yen Hong was not as strong as the 2 patriarchs. His secret treasure was only for escaping. It could not kill Luli. Go, Yen Hong was scared. If he could kill Luli by risking his life, he would risk it. But now, he could not kill Luli even if he died. If so, why should he sacrifice himself for nothing? Yen Hong threw out some obsidian stones at once. The battleship rushed out of the sea in a blur. However, as soon as he got out of the sea, the space above his head suddenly trembled. An axe shadow hacked down with a shrill sound that could crack rocks and gold. Boom! Yen Hong was smashed into the sea. He was covered in blood. That battleship, on the other hand, was smashed into pieces. The waves surged up and formed a tsunami, shaking heaven and earth. Hundreds of warriors were shocked. They could not understand why Axe Demon would make a move. Yen Hong was outside the Omen Island. He didn't break any rules. Yen Hong was a patriarch of the Hall of Black Flame. If the news got out, the Hall of Black Flame would be enraged. Someone would have something to use against the Demon King. Move out! Axe Demon didn't show any signs of laziness. He ordered coldly, kill all the scouts within a radius of more than 30,000 miles. Leave none alive. If one escapes, then kill yourselves. Yes, my lord. Hundreds of warriors accepted the order and rushed to all directions. They understood the meaning of Axe Demon's order. Since they had made a move, then they could not leave any evidence behind. All the scouts nearby must be killed. Otherwise, if the news got out, it would bring unnecessary trouble to the Demon King. Under the sea, Luli noticed that Yen Hong had run away. He was about to go after him when he saw Yen Hong was smashed down and badly injured. Luli used psychic power to check. He was shocked to find that it was Axe Demon who made the move. Chapter 2028. Yen Hong was falling down quickly. Luli didn't have time to worry. He put away the evil king's halberd and the 2 interspatial rings. He took out some consolidating pellets, threw them into his mouth, and smashed at Yen Hong with his fist. Luli had no divine energy, but physical attacks didn't require divine energy. There was a strange energy in the 720 acupoints in his body that could make his physical attacks horrifying. Ah, Axe Demon, are you trying to start a war between the Omen Island and the Dark Flame Hall? Yen Hong was enraged that he was badly injured by Axe Demon in one move. He wouldn't say anything if Lu Li had killed him, but Axe Demon had broken the rules by attacking him before he entered the Omen Island. Lu Li had already made it. Yen Hong didn't have the time to curse. Flames rose up from his body and evaporated the seawater nearby. He looked at Lu Li with disheveled hair and shouted, "Lu Li, if you want to die, let's die together." No. This lunatic is going to blow himself up. Lu Li was taken aback. A 3-tribulation heaven immortal was going to blow himself up. Strong as Lu Li was, he might not be able to survive it. Even if he could, he would be seriously injured. A cold snort rang out. Following that, a huge palm suddenly appeared above Yen Hong's head, grabbing towards him, instantly causing his body to explode. Yen Hong wanted to blow himself up, but he didn't have enough time. He was smashed into a mist of blood. Hiss hiss, Lu Li gasped. Axe Demon's means scared him. A 3-tribulation heaven immortal was about to blow himself up, but he was grabbed to death so easily? Was Axe Demon a 4th tribulation heaven immortal? I don't think so. He must be at the peak of the 3rd tribulation. Lu Li guessed. It was said that there were almost no 4th tribulation warriors at the 2nd heaven. Not even the Devil King was proven to be at the 4th tribulation. It would be impressive if the 10 assassins working for the Devil King were at the peak of the 3rd tribulation. How could they be at the 4th tribulation? Even so, Lu Li was frightened. He reminded himself not to underestimate heroes in the world. Although his battle prowess had soared in recent years, he had only cultivated for a short period of time. Many of the older generation experts had cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years and mastered countless powerful divine abilities. Although they could not increase their cultivation level, their battle prowess was extremely terrifying. He didn't have any divine power at the moment, so if he only relied on his dragon wings, he wouldn't be faster than Axe Demon. He gritted his teeth and put away Yen Hong's space ring before rushing out of the sea and landing in front of Axe Demon. Axe Demon's expression became lazy again. All the troops had been sent out by him, leaving him alone. He looked at Lu Li with a smile but didn't do anything. Lu Li took off his mask, bowed with respect and said, "Greetings, Axe Demon. Thank you for saving my life. I will never forget it." Axe Demon smiled and waved his hand. "You have a powerful corporeal body, so even if I self-destruct, I won't be able to kill you, so it doesn't count as saving your life. Your name is Lu Li, right? Does he live on Mount Skycloud?" Looking at the Axe Demon's smiling expression, Lu Li was reassured. It seemed that the Axe Demon did not intend to rob him of the godly iron, but simply wanted to help him? Or perhaps he hadn't sensed the might of the godly metal. Didn't he see anything special about the godly iron? Yes. Lu Li cupped his fists and said, "When I first came to the Omen Island, I was chased by Yen Hong. Back then, it was you, Axe Demon, that helped me defeat Yen Hong. I will never forget your kindness." "It's nothing, not worth mentioning." Axe Demon smiled and said, "I will take care of the scouts nearby. You can go back to Mount Skycloud with peace of mind. You have done a good job. Last time, the Demon King and I talked about you. He said you have made the Omen Island proud." Ah! Lu Li was surprised. He didn't know that the Demon King was still paying attention to him. He suddenly felt very honored. After all, the great Demon King was ranked 1st and 2nd in the entire 2nd heaven. "Thank you, Demon King." Lu Li bowed with respect. Looking at Axe Demon, he said, "Then I will go back to Mount Skycloud now. Lord Axe Demon, if there is anything wrong, please send someone to Mount Skycloud to let me know. I will risk my life to help you." "Off you go." Axe Demon waved his hand. After Luli flew away for more than 30 miles, Axe Demon suddenly said, "Do not use that piece of scrap iron of yours casually. This time, I will hide the news for you. Next time, you may not be so lucky. Once it is exposed, you will be in big trouble." Luli trembled. He had thought that Axe Demon didn't know the secret of the divine iron. He didn't expect that Axe Demon knew everything. Instead of robbing him, Axe Demon helped him hide the news. Luli stopped, turned around and bowed deeply before he left quickly. Axe Demon stood by the sea without moving. After Luli left, he murmured with a smile, "In less than 10 years, he has come from the first heaven and can kill the god's son of a family at the second heaven. He can also get a holy weapon fragment? No wonder the Demon King thinks so highly of this guy. He has a promising future." The battle outside the Omen Island didn't cause too much of a stir. All the scouts nearby were killed by Axe Demon. Everyone who witnessed the battle was killed. Only some scouts left early and weren't killed. But they didn't know what was going on. They only knew that the Hellish Killer was fighting with the warriors of the Black Flame Hall. The news that the Hellish Killer was near the Omen Island spread out. After all, many people at the second heaven were paying attention to Luli and the black tortoise fruit. Naturally, news about Luli would spread fast. Warriors of the Black Flame Hall and the Fu family were still searching for Luli at the Storm Sea area. They didn't expect that Luli had come to the Omen Island. Luli's hiding skills were admired by many. Soon, the news spread out that 3 patriarchs of the Black Flame Hall had died and the Hellish Killer was nowhere to be found. It was highly possible that he had entered the Omen Island. This news caused an even bigger sensation. Nobody cared about the death of Yen Hong and the other 2. After all, the Hellish Killer could kill 2 God's Son, which meant that he was as powerful as a 3 Tribulation Heaven God. It was not surprising that he could kill Yen Hong and the other 2. The reason for the sensation was that Luli had entered the Omen Island. Once he was there, who dared to hunt him down? It hadn't been long since the major forces were wiped out. Who dared to mess around in the territory of the Demon King? The Fu family and the Black Flame Hall were disgraced. They had evacuated all their warriors. Now that Luli had entered the Omen Island, the Fu family and the Black Flame Hall wouldn't dare to mess around on the island. They had to send some warriors to guard outside the island to monitor the outside of the Omen Island and wait for Luli to come out. Of course, the 2 families also sent messengers to visit the Demon King, hoping that he would hand Luli over. The 2 families were willing to pay a huge price. But that was a story to be told later. After several days of traveling, Luli successfully arrived at the Cloud Mountain. When he stood at the foot of the Cloud Mountain and saw the familiar faces of Patriarch Chen, Lady E and Uncle Li, he felt like he had come home. What he regretted was that he couldn't get Uncle Li's daughter and wife back. Even though he had gone to the territory of the Black Flame Hall, he didn't dare to act rashly for fear that he might implicate Uncle Li's wife and daughter. "Welcome back, our hero." Lady E was wearing a green robe, slim and graceful, like a lotus flower. She had a warm smile on her face, making Luli feel as if she was his wife waiting for him at the door. "My friend, it's good that you are back." Chapter 2029. Fairy Tianyun was still receiving him in the side hall. She did not show her face, and only a voice was heard. It was indistinct, and no one knew where it came from. "Greetings, Fairy Tianyun. I am back as scheduled. It's good that you are back. You have done a good job. You have made the Omen Island proud. Even the Demon King has praised you." Fairy Tianyun's words were gentle and soothing. It was the second time that Luli heard the Demon King complimenting him. He bowed and said, "Thank you, Demon King. Thank you for your concern. Well, you have improved your body." A gentle breeze came by and brushed past Luli. Fairy Tianyun said, "Your footwork should be the unfettered steps, right? Where did you cultivate it?" You have a pair of dragon wings? Are you faster than warriors at the peak of the third tribulation? Luli didn't know how to answer about the happy step. He gave a vague answer, I learned it at the Palace of Demons. Dragon wings is a strange skill that I awakened with a drop of a mortal beast's blood. Well, my speed should be faster than warriors at the peak of the third tribulation. Good. Fairy Tian Yun didn't pursue the matter. She said after a pause, stabilize yourself. The contest of geniuses will begin in 2 months. By then, you will kill Yun Kaiwe for me. Yun Kaiwe should be as powerful as someone at the middle stage of the third tribulation. Are you confident? Middle stage of the third tribulation? Lu Li frowned. Yen Hong was at the middle stage of the third tribulation. To be honest, Lu Li didn't have much confidence. What was more, a disciple of a family like Yun Hong must have powerful treasures and cultivated strange skills. It would be too difficult to kill him, unless he used the relic iron. He thought about it and asked, Fairy Tianyun, where is the battlefield? Is it closed off so outsiders can't see it? Yes. Fairy Tianyun said with certainty. The fights at the beginning are open to the public. The fights at the later stages will be held in the small world. Apart from the 2 parties, nobody can go in. This is to prevent powerful warriors from other families from interfering. As long as you can make it to the top 100, you can go into the small world and nobody will be able to interfere. Okay. Lu Li was full of confidence. He nodded and said, then it's okay. I am 70% sure that I can kill Yun Kaiwe. That's great. Fairy Tianyun was very pleased. She pondered for a moment and said, to be safe, you should go through the second heavenly tribulation. That way your battle prowess will increase a little. Go to Heavenly Devil City, and take my token to the Devil Crossing platform to undergo your tribulation. Tribulation? Lu Li was taken aback. All these years, he had never thought about crossing the tribulation of soul because he had too many demons in his mind. He was afraid of dying from the tribulation of soul and mind. He only wanted to cultivate his corporeal body. If he could cultivate a supreme divine body, then it would not be a dream for him to dominate the third heaven. Tribulation was to go to the sky. Li was not to go to the sky. Lu Li asked after some hesitation, Fairy, can I survive the second heaven tribulation? Also, why are we going to Heaven Devil City to undergo the tribulation? Fairy Tianyun. Kai. Li was. Fairy Tianyun explained, your fleshly body is already very strong. With your fleshly body, you should have no problem resisting the first 3 layers of heavenly tribulation. As for the soul tribulation, I will give you a soul-stabilizing pill. As for the last layer of chaos tribulation, you can use your secret treasure to block the chaos energy. You are going to the Demon City because the Demon King built a powerful formation that can attract the heaven tribulations. It will be safer to go to the demon platform. Secret treasure. Lu Li's pupils contracted. How did Fairy Tianyun know he had a secret treasure? Was she talking about the Dust King seal or the divine iron? If it was the divine iron, did the axe demon tell her or did she have the ability to foresee? Fairy Tianyun seemed to be able to read Lu Li's mind. She added, the demon platform is isolated by a formation. Nobody knows about your situation in there, apart from the Demon King. Don't worry. The Demon King will not be interested in your treasures. Lu Li touched his nose in embarrassment. At this moment, he had a feeling that Fairy Tianyun had already seen through all his secrets. After some thoughts, he took out 2 jade boxes from his ring and said, Fairy Tianyun, these are the black tortoise fruits I got from the Yuanyi world. I gave 2 to the Qin family and I have 3 left. These 2 are for you and the Demon King. Ha ha, thank you. Fairy Tianyun said calmly, without a trace of emotion, the great Demon King has this kind of spiritual fruit, and she gave me some. You can keep it for yourself, or you can exchange it for spiritual medicine to strengthen your body. Since Fairy Tianyun had said so, Luli didn't say anything else. He cupped his fists and left. Fairy Tianyun told him to rest for a couple of days and get ready. Then she asked Patriarch Chen to take him to the Heaven Tribulation. Back at his residence, Luli took a bath first. Then he asked someone to serve him some food and wine. He drank leisurely by himself. He had been wandering outside for 2 years without a moment of relaxation. Only now could he relax completely. Drinking by yourself again? A clear voice came. Lady E came in like a gust of wind. She sat down across from Luli and started to drink by herself. Her eyes were filled with cunning. She looked at Luli and said, "Luli, I heard that you got many treasures this time? Black tortoise fruits? You are so young. Why do you want black tortoise fruits?" Luli curled his lips. He took out an elixir from his interspatial ring, threw it to Lady E and said, "This is aging retaining flower. It is a miraculous elixir. It can keep you youthful and youthful. This is a gift for you." Wow! Miss Yi's eyes turned into crescent moons as she slightly opened the jade box. A fragrant scent immediately emanated out. Missy glanced at it and could not stop smiling. She hurriedly put it away and said, "At least you have some conscience. You didn't waste my kindness to you." Ha ha! Lady E was happy and so was Luli. He raised his goblet and said, "Come, let's celebrate my coming back alive." "Okay." Lady E clinked her goblet with Luli and drank up. She tilted her head and asked, "Luli, it is said that you killed Yan Fengming. Is it true?" "Yes, he did die in my hands." Luli nodded and said, "But I could kill him because he was badly injured. He was less than 30% of his strength. Otherwise, it would be impossible for me to kill a warrior at the peak of the third tribulation with my abilities." "That is impressive enough." Lady E nodded and said, "Anyhow, he is at the peak of the third tribulation and one of the top 100 on the celestial god list. Luli, you can be proud of this for the rest of your life." Oh, Lady E remembered something. Her eyes blinked and she asked, "I heard that you were entangled with a beautiful lady. TSK, the goddess of the Alliance of Immortals. Luli, are you going to leave the Omen Island and marry into the Alliance of Immortals?" "What?" Luli rolled his eyes. Where did Lady E hear this rumor? What was the relationship between him and Lady Qiong? They were not close. What was more to him, Lady Qiong was Qin Zhan's woman, his brother's wife. She could not be bullied. Lady E thought of something. She pouted and said, "It is said that you gave Lady Qiong a crimson sundae, don't deny it." "I exchanged a drop of immortal beast blood with her." Chapter 2030. Luli had been living at the Cloud Mountain for 5 days. It was rare for him to have 5 days of leisure. He went to see Uncle Li and told him why he didn't bring his daughter and wife over. Uncle Li said that he understood. Then, Luli went to Patriarch Chen with Uncle Li and asked him to send someone to pick them up. Luli was willing to pay 5 million divine origin gold as a reward. Patriarch Chen found 3 people. Hearing that Luli was willing to pay 5 million divine origin gold, Patriarch Chen only had to pick up 2 people at the storm area. The 3 warriors at the peak of the second tribulation patted their chests and promised that they would complete the task. If anything went wrong, they would be held accountable. "Take the 5 million. If you can bring them back safely, I will give you another 5 million. Luli threw the divine origin gold to the 3 and said seriously, "I am not afraid to tell you that I have another nickname, Hellkiller. If you take the divine origin gold and do nothing, or if something happens to the 2, I will kill you even if I have to chase you for hundreds of millions of miles." Hellkiller? The name was well known recently. The 3 warriors were enveloped by Luli's killing intent. Their expressions changed. They patted their chests and promised that they would complete the task. Luli told them not to reveal their identities, to go there and come back in a low-key manner, and not to make any trouble. The three left. Uncle Lee thanked Luli profusely. Luli told him to go back to rest and cultivate. Luli remembered that there was a girl and an old man in the interspatial ring. They were the ones he saved at the Fu family island. He let the girl and the old man out and asked Patriarch Chen to settle them down. After the two were taken away, Luli said to Patriarch Chen, "Patriarch Chen, I am going to the Asmodean city to undergo the heavenly tribulation in a couple of days. Please come with me." Of course. Patriarch Chen looked at Luli with mixed feelings and sighed. "Luli, I have watched you grow up step by step. Back in the days, a small team leader almost killed you. Now, you have made so much trouble that the two forces can't do anything to you. I am ashamed of your cultivation speed." Luli said with humility, "I am lucky and I have met a benefactor. Thanks to Fairy Maiden and Patriarch Chen for your guidance and love." They chatted for a bit and Luli left to prepare. Patriarch Chen watched Luli leave. His eyes were filled with anticipation. He was looking forward to Luli's extraordinary performance in the contest of geniuses and his killing of Yun Kaiwe. 2 days later, Patriarch Chen and Luli departed. They teleported directly to the Asmodean city. There was a teleportation formation at the top of the mountain, which was quite a distance away. The heavenly demon city is so grand. After he arrived, Luli used psychic power to check. He realized that he could not use psychic power to scan the entire city. The city was filled with magnificent buildings, castles and manors. There was no end to it. There were many people in the city. With a casual sweep of his divine will, there were at least a few million people. There were also countless shops and taverns. The streets were bustling with activity. "Don't sweep around with your spiritual will." Elder Chen transmitted his voice and instructed, "A few of the 10 great slaughter generals live in the city. Their personalities are very tyrannical. If you anger them, even Fairy won't be able to protect you." Oh! Luli retracted his psychic power at once. He had met the Axe Demon, one of the 10 Slayer generals. He was at the peak of the third tribulation and his abilities were unfathomable. He was somewhat curious as he sent a voice transmission. "Elder Chen, are the 10 slaughter generals all at the peak of the third tribulation?" "Some of them are." Patriarch Chen replied. "Axe Demon, Blade Demon and Arrow Demon are acknowledged to be at the peak of the third tribulation. The other 7 may not be at the peak of the third tribulation, but they are not far behind. All of them are very powerful. The first 3 in particular have unfathomable abilities. They have gone on many expeditions with the Demon King and killed many powerful warriors, including many at the peak of the third tribulation." "Impressive," Luli exclaimed to himself. There was no doubt that the Demon King was a warrior at the fourth tribulation if she could recruit so many warriors at the peak of the third tribulation. The Omen Island should be the most powerful force in the second heaven. How could the other forces have so many warriors at the peak of the third tribulation? She was just a woman. Not only could she have such abilities, she could also recruit so many powerful warriors. The Demon King's charm and abilities were evident. It was not impossible for the Demon King to unify the second heaven. They talked as they walked. They arrived at the north of the city. Patriarch Chen led them into a castle. The castle was not large. There were warriors guarding outside. Patriarch Chen was let in after he showed Fairy Tianyun's token. There was a leader inside. Patriarch Chen told him the purpose of their visit and took out Fairy Tianyun's token. The leader didn't say anything. He just showed them to a side chamber where there was a teleportation formation. "Luli, this is the soul anchoring pellet." Patriarch Chen took out a pellet, handed it to Luli and said, "Take it as soon as the heaven tribulation comes down on the third level. Be careful. I will wait for your successful return." "Okay." Luli put it away. The leader said, "An hour after you go in, the Demon Salvation platform will be activated. Are you sure you want to go through the heaven tribulation? You might lose your soul if you are not careful. Yes. Lu Li trusted Fairy Tianyun. He was confident as well. After all, his physical body had improved a lot and he had secret treasures with him. The second heaven tribulation shouldn't be difficult for him. Buzzing, the leader activated the teleportation formation. Lu Li appeared on a high platform which was 30 miles to the north of the heavenly Asmodean city. Standing on the high platform, one could see the entire city. But at the moment, the platform was surrounded by a black glare. Lu Li could only vaguely see what was going on outside. Similarly, those at the heavenly Asmodean city couldn't see what was going on inside. Someone is going through the heaven tribulation at the demon salvation platform. People in the city noticed that the demon salvation platform was glowing. Many people were curious. Not everyone could use the demon salvation platform. Could it be a relative of the Devil King or a descendant of the 10 assassin generals? Many people gathered outside the north of the city. They were talking about it, trying to find out who it was. How many heaven tribulations would it take? If it was the third heaven tribulation successfully, then another powerful warrior would be born. Time moved on. An hour later, more than 200,000 people had gathered at the north of the city. The black glare on the high platform was shining brightly, lighting up half of the city. Thunder rumbled in the sky as if they were attracted by the formation on the high platform. Many thunderbolts were gathering in the clouds, ready to strike down at any time. Patriarch Chen and the leader were standing on the city wall at the north of the city. They looked up at the thunderbolts and their expressions changed. Patriarch Chen's eyes flickered as he murmured, "Why are there so many thunderbolts? Why is this punk's heaven tribulation stronger than others?" Swish, bolts of huge thunderbolts whooshed down together with fire. The fire was dark red in color. Before the thunderbolts struck down, a surge of horrifying heat spread out to an area with a radius of more than 3,000 miles. People in the city felt they had fallen into a pit of fire. "Activate the divine pattern formation." A cold voice came. Patriarch Chen's heart trembled. It was the voice of Blade, the assassin general in charge of the Asmodean city. Lu Li's heaven tribulation had alarmed him, and he was going to activate the divine pattern formation? Swish, bolts of thunderbolts and fire penetrated into the high platform and landed on Lu Li. The dark fire enveloped Lu Li and began to burn him. "Hiss hiss," Lu Li gasped. The thunderbolts were ineffective to him, and the fire could not burn him. But this was only the first level. There were 5 levels in the second heaven tribulation. How horrifying would the later levels be? Was he sure he could survive? Chapter 2031. Boom, boom, boom. Dragons of thunder hovered down, as if it was the end of the world. Every dragon of thunder carried horrifying flames. The temperature was horrifying. If the shield of the Asmodean city was not activated, many people in the city would have been burned to death. For example, some children had never cultivated. How could they stand such a high temperature? Even the more than 200,000 people at the north of the city had retreated more than 30 miles. It was not that they could not stand it, but they didn't want to suffer. They were not the ones going through the heaven tribulation. Why should they suffer? Why is it so overbearing? Patriarch Chen could not sit still anymore. He called over a warrior and asked him to teleport to Mount Cloud to report to a patriarch so that he could pass the message to Fairy Tianyun. Lu Li's heaven tribulation was so powerful that it subverted everything he knew. He was afraid that something might happen to Lu Li and he might be killed by the heaven tribulation. Therefore, he reported to Fairy Tianyun at once. Lu Li shouldered the high hopes of Fairy Tianyun. He had to go to the contest of geniuses and kill Yun Kaiwei on behalf of Fairy Tianyun. Fairy Tianyun had poured a lot of her blood on Lu Li. He could not die so easily. Boom, boom, boom. Luli, who was standing on the demon fairy platform, also felt something was off. He had heard that every heaven tribulation would be 10 times more powerful. But this heaven tribulation was more than 10 times stronger than the first one. Is it because of my strong physical body? Luli could not figure it out. He had to take it head on. Thunderbolts came down one after another. Every one of them contained flames. No matter how many thunderbolts came, they were all absorbed. Luli could not be harmed at all. The flames were nothing. They couldn't even hurt Luli, let alone burn him to death. They just made his skin a bit red. Luli's skin glowed as if he was made of copper. He sat on the ground with his legs crossed, not moving at all. He absorbed all the thunderbolt. The thunderbolts stopped after 99 times. Luli did not relax though. This was only the first level. There were 4 more levels to go. Swish, swish, clouds came down from the sky. Many thunderbolts were gathering in the clouds, preparing for the second strike. Surges of might spread out, forcing people to step back for another 30 miles. Such an overbearing heaven tribulation and such horrifying might. Is this the third heaven tribulation? It doesn't seem like it. The third heavenly tribulation should be even stronger than this. However, it is much stronger than the second heavenly tribulation. I don't understand. This should be the second heavenly tribulation. It's just that the person undergoing the heavenly tribulation is a little strange, so the heavenly tribulation attracted is a little stronger. Could it be a special god fetus? Otherwise, how could the heavenly tribulation be so strong? There was a lot of discussion in the surroundings, and the northern part of the city also attracted more people to watch. Unfortunately, the city barrier had been activated, and they could not come out. They could only watch from the north of the city. Due to the barrier's isolation, he was unable to clearly sense the heavenly might. Boom, boom, boom. The second bolt of lightning struck down. It was actually 2 bolts of lightning that struck down together. The bolts of lightning also contained purple heavenly flames. Terrifying heavenly might and scorching heat filled the air, causing many people nearby to cry out in alarm. Twin dragon lightning, great purple heavenly flame. Heavens, what kind of divine fetus is the one going through the tribulation? To actually make the heavens so jealous, and for the heavenly tribulation to be so abnormal? It's definitely a special divine fetus. I heard that the number 1 on the genius list has a Chilan divine fetus body. When he transcends the tribulation, he's several times stronger than an ordinary person. Our heavenly Devil Island also has a divine fetus? Is he the descendant of the Devil King? Shut up. The Devil King hasn't even gotten married yet. You are babbling nonsense. Be careful that your soul will be destroyed. Not even warriors at the third heaven's tribulation had encountered such a strange thing. 2 bolts of lightning were entangled together, and there was rare great purple heavenly flame. Everyone felt it was worthwhile to watch the show. Is it because of the supreme divine body? Patriarch Chen murmured to himself with a solemn expression. The supreme divine body was already an abnormal body. To cultivate it was to go against nature. It was understandable that the heavens tribulation would take care of him. Luli felt something was wrong. It was the first time he had seen purple heavenly flames. As soon as the purple heavenly flames came down, he was burned. But the thunderbolts didn't bother him. He could survive 10, let alone 2 bolts of lightning. What was more, the lightning would turn into special energy and be absorbed into his 720 acupoints. Can it be? Luli thought of a possibility. Was it because he had been to the heavens tribulation several times to absorb thunderbolts, and the thunderbolts were ineffective to him? Was that why the heavens tribulation was taking care of him? Hiss, hiss, the purple heavenly flames were too strong. He smelled burnt flesh. He didn't dare to think too much. He took some elixirs and used divine energy to heal himself. The second thunderbolt struck 99 times as well. After that, Patriarch Chen turned to the leader and asked, Chief Commander Wang, how is it going in there? Can you detect it? Apart from the Asmodean King, nobody else can. Chief Commander Wang looked at the high platform in the distance and said, but he is not dead. If he is, the formation of the demon-trawling platform will stop the heavens' tribulation. He is not dead. Patriarch Chen touched his nose in embarrassment. What was the point of asking if he was dead? He just wanted to know how Luli was. Could he survive the next heavens' tribulation? Swish, swish, more and more clouds floated down from the 9 heavens, and some of them were 5-colored clouds. More and more thunderbolts were gathering. This time, even people within a radius of millions of miles could feel it. The heavens' tribulation this time could be compared to the third heavens' tribulation in terms of power. This punk is going to let the entire Omen Island know about his heavens' tribulation? In a luxurious palace in the city, a man with a mustache said with a jar of wine in his hand. His eyes were half closed. There were 2 people sitting next to him. One of them had fire-red hair and a stocky build, like a lion. The other person was thin and small. He didn't look eye-catching at all, but his aura was very cold, making people feel like he was a poisonous snake. If Patriarch Chen were here, he would recognize the 3. They were the famous Axe Demon, Blade Demon and Arrow Demon. The man with a mustache was Axe Demon, the one in the shape of a lion was Blade Demon, the manager of the Omen City, and the cold and small man was Arrow Demon. Blade Demon said nothing. Arrow Demon picked up a bowl of wine, took a sip and said, how can it be so easy to cultivate a supreme immortal body? People think that the most difficult part of cultivating an immortal body is the huge amount of elixirs needed. They don't know that the hardest part is the heavens' tribulation. How many immortal bodies have been destroyed by the heavens' tribulation before they reached the ultimate level? Yes. Lion King Blade Demon nodded slightly and said with slight mockery in his eyes, in the past 100,000 years there hasn't been a single supreme immortal body in the entire second and third heavens, right? Can this punk succeed? I think it's hard enough. Don't be killed in the second heavens tribulation. He can survive it. Although the Axe Demon looked a little drunk, his tone was exceptionally firm. He glanced at the Saber Demon and the Arrow Demon and revealed a trace of a smile. You have forgotten one thing. The Great Demon King thinks very highly of him. How can someone that the Great Demon King thinks highly of die so easily? At the mention of the Great Demon King, Blade Demon and Arrow Demon sat up straighter. There was no more doubt in their eyes. They looked solemn. Chapter 2032. Boom, boom, boom. The heavens test was still going on. The third wave made Patriarch Chen speechless. 5 thunderbolts were gathered together and there was more great purple flames this time. Average warriors would not be able to stand it. They would be smashed into pieces or incinerated into ashes at the third heavens test. After the third wave of the heavenly tribulation was over, Elder Chen immediately looked at Commander Wang. The latter nodded slightly and said, he's not dead. The array is still guiding the heavenly tribulation. This kid's physical body is so strong that he can't even die from the heavenly tribulation. Someone else noticed this as well. There were more and more colorful clouds in the sky. The heavens test was still going on, which meant that Luli was still alive. Is this man cultivating a supreme divine body? Not even warriors at the peak of the second tribulation can survive such a powerful heavens test. It is possible. Otherwise, there is no other explanation. Either he is of miraculous birth or he has a freakish body type. But I have never heard of such a body type in the family of the Demon King. I have never heard of the descendants of the 10 assassins. Who is this man? Let's wait and see. There are 2 more heavens tests. If he can survive the Soul's test and the Chaos test, he can come out and we will all know who he is. The Soul's test is still okay. At this rate, the Chaos test will be horrifying. Not even warriors at the peak of the second tribulation can survive it, people were discussing loudly. After all, such a strange thing had happened. Everyone was moved. Many here were second tribulation heaven immortals, and some were at the third tribulation. They had all gone through several heavens tests and were familiar with them. Many were second tribulation heaven immortals, and some were at the third tribulation. They had all gone through several heavens tests and were familiar with them. Phew. Luli was burnt to a crisp inside the demon salvation platform. But he made it. His body had been improved so many times that it was freakishly strong. He was fine no matter how many thunderbolts there were. It was the great purple flames that burned him all over. Instead of healing himself, he took out the soul fixation pellet given to him by Patriarch Qin and consumed it. He knew very well that the soul's test was coming. The soul's test attacked his soul, his heart. His physical wounds could be healed over time. After swallowing the soul-stabilizing pill, he also swallowed some spirit marrow. At this moment, his entire body was burned by the fire, and he was like a furnace. Swallowing spirit marrow could quickly heal his injuries. As expected, once the divine quintessence entered his body, his entire body felt ice-cold. The burning sensation on his skin lessened significantly. As he circulated his divine power, he quietly waited for the arrival of the soul tribulation. Hiss, after a while, a bolt of purple thunderbolt whooshed across the sky. The thunderbolt was not thick or powerful, but Luli felt his soul tremble. The most terrifying soul tribulation had arrived. The purple thunderbolt struck down. A surge of strange energy entered Luli's soul. He felt the world in front of him disappeared, and he reappeared in a barren mountain. Everything was so real. Luli had forgotten that he was going through a tribulation. His mind was blank. He had forgotten everything about the second heaven. There's a city up ahead. Luli stood on the peak and tried his best to look into the distance. He saw a city. After some thoughts, he flew over. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he arrived at the edge of the city and saw a scene that shocked him. He saw people fighting in the city and a familiar figure. It was Yen Hong. Luli's memory of the second heaven was wiped out. Naturally, he did not know that Yen Hong had died. Out of instinct, Luli wanted to run away. Whoosh! However, a group of people flew up from the city. Luli's eyes were wide open when he saw them. It was Ling Qinyan, Pan Yuqin, his father, Lu Renhuang, and his grandfather, Lu Jingyang. Bang! Yen Hong chopped off Lu Renhuang's head with his saber. Then, he cut Ling Qinyan, Lu Jingyang, and Pan Yuqin in half from the waist. Blood sprayed everywhere. Lu Renhuang's head rolled on the ground. This scene drove Luli crazy. With his eyes reddened, he rushed over and began to fight without caring about anything else. Boom! He had actually killed Yen Hong with a single slash. He stood on the city wall and looked at the soldiers and experts in the city. The ground was filled with corpses, and they were all people he was familiar with. They were all his relatives, lovers, friends, and clansmen. He saw Jiang Qiling, Bai Qiuxue, Bai Xiaoshuang, and Qi Shir. He saw countless people dying tragically on the ground. He saw many enemies as well. He saw Zhua Qilu, the demon, and Yao Xing. He dashed down in a frenzy. He wanted to tear all the enemies apart. However, there seemed to be more and more enemies. He would never be able to kill them all. His eyes had turned red. He was losing his mind. He had become a lunatic. The only thing on his mind was to tear everyone in front of him apart and kill them. Charge, charge, charge. He sat on the demon salvation platform with his legs crossed. He was filled with murderous intent. His facial expressions were ferocious. He kept roaring and brandishing his claws and fangs, as if there were enemies in front of him and he wanted to tear them apart. As soon as the tribulation of mind and soul appeared, Luli fell for it. He could not fight back at all. There were too many things in his heart that he couldn't let go of. There were too many things that he was worried about. Many things had become demons in his mind that he could not get rid of. They were like ashes in autumn that could be ignited at the slightest touch. Luli knew this very well. That was why he didn't go through the heavens tribulation. He was afraid that he would fall victim to the tribulation of mind and soul. In his current situation, if nothing unexpected happened, he would completely lose his mind and eventually become a lunatic. But something unexpected happened. The medicinal power of the stabilizing soul pill spread and entered his soul. His restless soul gradually calmed down. The lucid consciousness in his mind gradually awakened, and slowly, the memories in his mind came back to him one by one. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he was not as ferocious as before and the murderous intent was not as strong. But his body began to tremble. Clearly, the efficacy of the soul fixation pellet was fighting against the energy of the tribulation of mind and soul. Admittedly, the pellet given by Fairy Tianyun was powerful. After the time for another incense stick to burn, Luli had calmed down and his breaths were steady. Boom, boom, boom. Bolts of purple thunderbolts kept striking down, but Luli was not in the same state as before. As time moved on, the 99 bolts of purple thunderbolts finally stopped. Luli opened his eyes. The soul fixation pellet is so powerful. Luli exhaled. If it were not for the soul fixation pellet, he would have lost his mind. Even if he was not, his soul would be hurt. Once the tribulation of primordial chaos came down, he would be smashed into pieces. There was some sweat on his forehead. He thought to himself that unless absolutely necessary, he would not go through the third heaven's tribulation. For him, heaven's tribulation was too horrifying. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli's eyes were filled with determination and passion. Chapter 2033. Okay. Somehow, Patriarch Chen was relieved that Luli was still alive after the tribulation of mind and soul. There was only one more tribulation to go and Luli would have a better chance. The onlookers became livelier as well. They were waiting for Luli to be killed by the tribulation of primordial chaos or to walk out successfully so that they could see who he was. Time moved on. After the time for one incense stick to burn, colorful clouds came from all sides. Previously, there were only 5 colored clouds. This time, there were 7 colored clouds. Boom, 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 one after another, the lightning dragons flew through the air. Terrifying divine might permeated the air, causing everyone in the surroundings to be shocked. Many people hurriedly retreated with fear in their eyes. Even the third tribulation heaven immortals stepped back. The pressure in heaven and earth was overwhelming. They were afraid to be implicated. No. This tribulation of primordial chaos is 10 times stronger than usual. How can this man survive? Yes, this man is doomed. Even a warrior at the peak of the second tribulation would die in such a horrifying tribulation of primordial chaos. He is just a warrior at the first tribulation. Even if he has some treasures, he will be turned into ashes. Such a shame. This man must be of miraculous birth. He is a good seedling, but he is destined to be destroyed. As the pressure of the tribulation of primordial chaos grew stronger, everyone's mind was weighed down. It was a pity that such a good seedling was going to be destroyed. After all, this was a talent of the Omen Island. When he grew up, he could protect the Omen Island. So overbearing? Axe Demon, who was in the luxurious palace in the city, put down the jar of wine in his hand. He frowned and a trace of worry appeared in his eyes. Saber Demon and Arrow Demon's gazes also turned solemn. The two of them seemed to be able to see the sky above the demon ferry platform through the city's barrier. Saber Demon looked for a while and said, "This is only the second heavenly tribulation. If it is the third or fourth heavenly tribulation, how terrifying would it be? No wonder it is so hard to cultivate the supreme immortal body. Even the gods are jealous." Arrow Demon said in a creepy voice, "Get ready to bury him. He cannot survive." Swish, as soon as the Arrow Demon finished speaking, a rainbow-colored lightning bolt descended from the sky. This lightning bolt was not particularly large, only as thick as an arm. However, its power was shocking. It felt as if nothing could stop the rainbow-colored lightning bolt's attack. Everything would be turned to dust. "Come!" Luli opened his eyes, which were filled with madness. He could feel the terror of the tribulation of primordial chaos. That kind of pressure reached the depth of his heart, making his soul tremble. Seal of the Dust King. He took out the small seal, made it bigger, and placed it above his head. At the same time, he held the godly metal in his other hand, ready to activate it at any time. If the Dust King's seal could not withstand it, he could only rely on the godly metal to withstand it. Boom! 7 colored thunderbolts rumbled down and landed on the Dust King's seal that had grown to a size of 10 feet. The Dust King's seal was able to withstand it, but it was smashed down and landed on Luli. At the same time, thunderbolts entered Luli's body as well. Along with the thunderbolts came a strange energy. The energy contained a strong attribute of destruction. It was trying to destroy Luli's source of life. Fortunately, not much energy entered Luli's body. Luli mobilized divine energy at once and dissolved all the energy. Is this the chaos energy? Luli was taken aback. If it weren't for the Dust King's seal, all the chaotic chi in the 7 colored thunderbolts would have gone into his body, and he would have died. Boom, 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 from above came a rumbling noise. The second bolt of 7 colored thunderbolt was about to fall. Luli flew up in the seal of the Dust King at once. At the same time, he mobilized divine energy in his body, ready to defend against the descending stream of primordial chaos. Boom! The Dust King's seal was smashed away again. The thunderbolts landed on Luli. Strand after strand of chaos energy entered Luli's body and wandered around, searching for the source of life to destroy. There is more chaos energy now. Luli made up his mind and mobilized divine energy to fight back. He enveloped all the chaos energy and dissolved it one by one. Even though all the chaos energy had been dissolved, his expressions were getting more and more awful. The chaos energy had increased. If more thunderbolts were to come, how could he fight back? He had the godly metal. When the godly metal was activated, he believed he could disperse all the thunderbolts and the chaos energy. However, the godly metal had a fatal flaw. After one use, all the divine energy would be absorbed. In other words, the godly metal could only be used once. After that, he would have no more divine energy left. He couldn't even use the Dust King seal. If there were more thunderbolts after he used the godly metal, then he would have to wait for death. I wonder how many thunderbolts there are. If it is 99 like before, then I will be doomed. Luli thought to himself. The source of life was the most important thing. Once it was severely injured, not to mention destroyed, his life would be over. Unless he could get some miraculous elixir, he would become so sick that he couldn't even lift his saber. Boom! The third thunderbolt came down. Same as before, the Dust King's seal was smashed away. More chaos energy came down. This time, it was more difficult for Luli to dissolve it. When all the chaos energy was dissolved, Luli's face turned pale. He would not be able to dissolve it all the next time. He had two choices, to use the godly metal or to die. What to do? What to do? Luli thought about it. The thunderbolts would not stop anytime soon. There would be at least 9, if not 99. It was only the third and he was already struggling. What should he do next? Boom! The fourth thunderbolt came down. After the Dust King seal was smashed away, the chaos energy came down. Finally, Luli could not stand it anymore. Some of the chaos energy was not dissolved and it hurt his source of life. Poof! Luli spat out some blood. His face was as pale as snow. He was trembling as if he was seriously ill. The source of life was the most important thing in the human body. Once it was damaged, it would be a devastating blow to the body. No, if I don't use the godly metal, I will die in the next one. An idea came to Luli's mind. He stared at the sky, waiting for the next thunderbolt. His eyes were dim. This was the heavens' tribulation. Nobody could help him, not even Fairy Tianyun or the Demon King. Swish, the fifth thunderbolt came down. It was more powerful than before. Luli made up his mind and used the godly metal to smash at the sky. The godly metal gave off a dark glare. Streaks of red light surrounded the godly metal. Something strange was circulating. Luli smashed at the godly metal. The 7 colored thunderbolts in the sky were all destroyed. Not a single strand of chaos energy came down. Luli's divine energy was drained. He had taken some drops of divine liquid at once, but it was impossible for him to use the godly metal in a short time. Up in the sky, lightning was still flashing and thunder rumbling. The next thunderbolt was about to come down. Am I going to die here? Chapter 2034. At the moment of life and death, Luli's mind was clear and he was thinking fast. He thought through all the sacred arts and treasures he knew, trying to think of a way to resist the chaos tribulation. It was just that his supernatural power could not withstand the chaos tribulation. His most powerful treasures were the Dust King seal and the godly metal. The 9 strange mountains were originally a secret treasure, but 3 of them were missing. If he took out the divine mountain now, it would probably be shattered. The ghost beads and dharma seals were even worse. The dragon's soul was also unreliable. The dragon soul was only a demon soul and could only protect the soul. Escape? Leave the demon transcending platform and stop the heavenly tribulation? This probably wouldn't work either. Putting aside the fact that he wouldn't be able to get out, even if he did, the next chaos calamity would probably strike down immediately. It would be too late. How do we block the primal chaos chi? How can we block it? Luli was not afraid of the 7-colored thunderbolt. No thunderbolt could kill him, no matter how strong it was. What he feared the most was the chaotic chi contained in the 7-colored thunderbolt. The chaotic chi was so powerful that it could destroy a warrior's source of life directly. Chaos energy, grand mist energy, they feel similar, so why are their attributes completely different? Luli thought of the primordial chaos. He had consumed a lot of primordial chaos to strengthen his body. Why was one beneficial to the body and the other destructive to the source of life? Grand mist energy? Oh right. The thought of the primordial chaos stirred Luli's heart. He remembered something, what happened in the primordial realm. He carved a trace of the great Tao in the primordial mystic realm, and then absorbed all the primordial chi in the mystic realm. Then could he use the marks of the grand Tao to absorb the chaotic aura? If he could absorb the primal chaos chi, then he would be able to control the primal chaos chi, and it would not actively stimulate his life essence. Hiss, when the 6th thunderbolt came, Luli had no time to think. He used some divine energy that he had just cultivated to activate the Dust King seal above his head. Then, he exerted the mark of Tao with all his strength. The Dust King seal was smashed away. Most of the thunderbolts and air of chaos fell down and entered Luli's body. The thunderbolts were absorbed by the lightning collection formation and the primordial chi entered Luli's body, destroying his source of life on its own. At the moment, Luli was tense to the extreme. He urged the trace of the great path to absorb the energy of primordial chaos. All right. What happened next made Luli ecstatic. After he activated the marks of the great Tao, the chaotic chi that had just entered his body was suddenly affected. Originally, the chaotic chi was like wild lions roaring in his body, but under the influence of the marks of the great Tao, they all became docile lambs and gathered in his lower abdomen, just like the primordial chi in the past. Good, good. When all the energy of primordial chaos was gathered in his abdomen, Luli was trembling with excitement. He felt he had just taken a trip to hell. He did not dare to move recklessly, fearing that the chaotic chi in his body would go berserk. He felt as if there was a bomb buried in his body. Once the chaotic chi went berserk, he would immediately be smashed into pieces. After waiting for a moment and confirming that the primal chaos aura did not go berserk, he felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. His eyes also began to become spirited. If he could completely suppress the primal chaos chi, he would be able to survive and successfully pass the second heavenly tribulation. Hiss! The eighth bolt of rainbow lightning came down. This time, the pressure in heaven and earth was even stronger. Many onlookers were trembling in fear. Many third tribulation heaven gods were speechless. Not even they could survive such a horrifying tribulation of primordial chaos. What kind of body did the man have? Why was he still alive? Patriarch Chen clenched his fists nervously. He murmured, "This is the 8th time. Survive this one. There is one more. Luli, you must survive." This is getting interesting. Inside the palace, Demon of Axe, Demon of Blade and Demon of Arrow saw that the formation at the Demon Salvation platform did not stop after the 8th bolt of rainbow lightning. The three of them looked at each other in surprise. If Luli could survive such a horrifying tribulation of primordial chaos, then there was a good chance that he could survive the second heavenly tribulation. There was only one last time. If he could survive the first 8, then the last one should be fine. Boom, boom, boom. The last tribulation of primordial chaos took a long time to build up. After the time for one incense stick to burn, a bolt of rainbow lightning as thick as a human head finally came down. When the last bolt of primordial chaos came down, the tribulation clouds in the sky dispersed. The sky became clear and sunny. At the same time, Demon of Blade had the shield of the Asmodean city shut down. Many people in the city rushed out and swarmed toward the Demon Salvation platform. They wanted to see if the man was alive or not. Many powerful psychic power came out as well, waiting for the formation of the Demon Salvation platform to be shut down. Buzzing, the formation on the Demon Salvation platform glowed and then disappeared. Many people used psychic power to check on the man sitting in the center of the Demon Salvation platform. He is alive. Patriarch Chen checked and was overjoyed to find that Luli was still alive. He flew up to the Demon Salvation platform and stood next to Luli to protect him. Many people at the Demon Salvation platform were stunned. This man was still alive? They could tell that he had just reached the second tribulation realm. More importantly, this man was a complete stranger. None of the more than 200,000 people at the Demon Salvation platform knew Luli. Luli had never been to the Asmodean city before. He had been staying at the Cloud Mountain. Apart from a few people at the Cloud Mountain, nobody knew him. How could these people know who he was? Patriarch Chen of the Cloud Mountain. Is he from the Cloud Mountain? Is he from Fairy Tianyun's family? Someone recognized Patriarch Chen, and they began to discuss. Anyways, Luli had made a name for himself at the Asmodean city. After all, it was hard for Luli not to be famous since he could affect such a freakish heaven's tribulation and survive. Luli didn't open his eyes. When the last bolt of primordial chaos came down, he contained all the primordial chi. He put away the Dust King's seal and the relic iron, put on a set of clothes and began to cultivate. There was a lot of primordial chi in his body which was like a bomb. He must take good care of it or else he would be smashed into pieces if the primordial chi went berserk. Therefore, he had no time to worry about what was going on outside. He cultivated at once and tried to consume the primordial chi in his body. Patriarch Chen didn't know Lu Li's real situation, but he noticed that Lu Li was cultivating, so he protected him. Lu Li seemed to be very weak at the moment. There was blood all over his body. He was wounded. Whoosh! All of a sudden, a leader flew over from the city. Patriarch Chen put his guard up. The leader stood more than 300 feet away from Patriarch Chen and Lu Li. He glanced at Lu Li, cupped his fists and said, "Lord Blade Demon said that he should go to the mansion of the City Lord after he comes out from cultivation. Lord Axe, Lord Blade and Lord Arrow want to see him." What? Everyone was surprised. 3 of the top 3 of the 10 Slayer generals wanted to see Lu Li at the same time? This was a declaration to the entire city not to have any ideas about Lu Li. Anyone who dared to do anything would be killed by the 3. Yes. Chapter 2035. Lu Li did not wake up for a while. He cultivated for 3 days and 3 nights. There was a mass of primordial energy in his body. It was like a ticking time bomb that he could not rest in peace for even a moment. After 3 days, he still could not dissolve the primal chaos chi. He thought of many methods, but the primal chaos chi was like a stinky and hard rock. No matter how he tried, he could not move it at all. Just like the primordial energy, it could not be moved or dissolved. Lu Li was troubled. Back then, he had to dissolve the primordial energy bit by bit with the help of thunderbolts and absorb it into his 720 acupoints. Now, the primordial energy and thunderbolts were striking down together. Could thunderbolts dissolve the primordial energy? Clearly, this was not feasible. If lightning could not neutralize it, then what could neutralize the chaotic chi? 3 days later, Lu Li stopped cultivating. He was not in a hurry to leave, nor did he talk to Patriarch Chen. Instead, he waved his hand to stop Patriarch Chen from talking. First, Lu Li moved his arm, stood up, moved his body and tried to use divine energy. Then, he walked around the demon salvation platform to make sure that the primordial energy would not be disturbed because of his movement. Then, he was relieved. What is it? Patriarch Chen saw that Lu Li was solemn. He was not happy about the heaven tribulation. Patriarch Chen asked in surprise, "Lu Li, what is it? Let's go back and talk." Lu Li waved his hand. Patriarch Chen did not ask more questions. Instead, he said, "Lu Li, Lord Axe, Lord Blade and Lord Arrow have asked for you." Lu Li was surprised. Why did the 3 suddenly want to see him? That being said, Lu Li had a good impression of Lord Axe. He did not ask any questions. He nodded and flew down the demon salvation platform with Patriarch Chen. There were not many onlookers. They had all seen Lu Li, so it was pointless for them to stay. That being said, Lu Li and Patriarch Chen had attracted many people's attention. Why are they looking at me like this? Lu Li touched his nose embarrassedly and asked. Patriarch Chen replied with a smile, "You don't know how powerful the heavens test you created is. It was as powerful as the 3rd heaven tribulation. There were some strange things like the great purple flame. Not for the average warrior." Lu Li already felt something was off when he was going through the heavens tribulation. Now, it seemed that his heavens tribulation was different from others. While walking, Lu Li asked, "Why is this happening?" "It should be because of the supreme divine body." Elder Chern had been thinking about this problem for many days. He said his guess, "You transcended the tribulation too late. In addition, your physical body is so powerful that the laws of heaven and earth sensed it, so the heavenly tribulation is doubled." "I see." Lu Li nodded. He made up his mind again that he would never go through tribulations again. If he did, he would die in the heavens tribulation. They followed Elder Chun to the City Lord mansion. A guard outside led them in. Axe Demon and the other two were still drinking in the palace. "Greetings, my lords." Luli and Patriarch Chin bowed. The Axe Demon nodded with a smile. The Blade Demon looked dignified and serious. The Archer raised his head slightly and looked at Luli. His gaze was as sharp as a sword. "Sit down." The Blade Demon waved his hand. Luli and Patriarch Chin sat down on the platform. Patriarch Chin was a bit nervous. After all, the three of them were the three famous warriors, the most powerful below the level of Asmodeans. They should be more powerful than Fairy Tianyun. Luli, on the other hand, was not so nervous. Maybe it was because the Axe Demon was looking at him with a smile. Luli felt at ease. After they sat down, the Axe Demon even raised his goblet and said, "Luli, congratulations on your second heaven's tribulation. Here, let's drink to you." "Thank you, Lord Axe Demon." "Thank you, my lords." Luli stood up, picked up the goblet with respect and gulped it down. To his surprise, the wine was like on fire. As soon as it entered his throat, he felt his body was burning. He choked and coughed. He had to open his mouth to breathe. "Ha ha ha." The three of them laughed. Even the Blade Demon and the Archer Demon smiled. They looked at Luli with kindness. The Axe Demon laughed and said, "You have such a strong body that you can survive the heavens' tribulation. Can't you handle this liquor?" Luli smiled in embarrassment. He made up his mind and drank up the rest of the wine. Then he cupped his fists and said, "My lords, I am sorry." "You are Luli, right?" The Blade Demon was curious. He asked, "How did you survive the last heaven's tribulation of primordial chaos? I don't see that your source of life is harmed much. Do you have some kind of treasure?" Luli's heart skipped a beat. The Axe Demon knew he had divine iron, but the Blade Demon and the Archer Demon didn't. He couldn't tell the world about this, could he? What was more, he didn't rely on divine iron to survive. Luli thought of something, cupped his fists and said, "I don't have any treasure. I cultivated a cultivation method by chance. At the critical moment, I used it randomly and absorbed all the divine iron. I am still troubled. There is a mass of divine iron inside me. I don't know how to deal with it. Lords, please teach me." "You absorbed it?" The Blade Demon, the Archer Demon and the Axe Demon looked at each other. They were surprised. The Axe Demon thought about it and said, "Come closer. Let me have a look." Luli walked over to the Axe Demon. The latter put a hand on Luli's wrist. A surge of energy quietly entered Luli's body. The Axe Demon closed his eyes. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he opened his eyes and said, "This is strange." The divine iron is really absorbed into his body. It is floating in his abdomen. There is a lot of it. The Blade Demon and the Archer Demon were surprised again. They knew very well that the divine iron had properties of destruction. The divine iron could destroy a person's source of life. They also knew that some powerful warriors could refine the divine iron in their weapons. When they attacked, the divine iron could annihilate the source of life of their enemies. But Luli could absorb the divine iron. What was more, the divine iron was not agitated and it didn't attack his source of life. Instead, it was staying in his body. They had never heard of such a strange thing. Luli was getting impatient since the three didn't say anything. He asked, "Lords, do you have a way to force the divine iron out of my body?" "Don't act rashly," the Axe Demon said. "Once the divine iron is agitated, not even an almighty god can save you." The Blade Demon and the Archer Demon nodded. The Axe Demon thought about it and said, "How about this? I will take you to the Devil King and see if she can help." Meet the Devil King? Luli was surprised. He didn't expect that he would have the chance to meet this legendary warrior. She was the first or second most powerful warrior of the second heaven. Aren't you going to thank the three lords? Chapter 2036. The three lords didn't go with Luli. Axe Demon took Luli out of the mansion and into a castle in the backyard. Luli had thought that the demon lord was living in the castle. He didn't expect that there was a teleportation formation in the castle. Axe Demon stood in front of the teleportation formation and said, "When you see the demon lord, don't talk and don't look around. Just stand there and wait for my signal." Yes. Luli nodded with respect. Even he felt pressured when he was faced with the most powerful warrior of the second heaven. The main reason was that this woman was so legendary. Her fame was awe-inspiring. Axe Demon activated the teleportation formation. After a white glare, they arrived at an island surrounded by the sea. The demon lord didn't live on the Omen Island? The island had a beautiful view. The trees were lush and the flowers were everywhere. The scent of the spirit chi was very rich here. Luli believed that there must be a powerful spirit gathering formation here. Otherwise, how could a small island have such rich spirit chi? They appeared on the beach. Axe Demon didn't go in rashly. Instead, he bowed and said, "Lord, I want to see you." After the time for 5 breaths, a cold voice came, "Come in." Axe Demon bowed with utmost respect. There was no longer a lazy smile on his face. Instead, he looked solemn. Luli followed behind him, holding his breath. They walked along the path into the island. After passing through the woods, they came to a cabin. Before Luli had the time to look around, 2 streaks of black light suddenly flew over. They were so fast that they were like 2 meteor hammers. In an instant, they were in front of Luli and Axe Demon. Axe Demon reached out a hand and grabbed the black shadow. Luli tried to dodge, but he was too slow. The black shadow hit him in the chest. Crack! The black shadow turned out to be a fruit. It fell apart and dirted Luli's clothes. A dissatisfied voice of a child came out, "This man is so weak. He can't even catch a fruit." Luli looked over in surprise. He saw a chubby little girl sitting on the roof with some black fruits in her hand. She was looking down at Luli with contempt in her eyes. Axe Demon smiled, cupped his fists and said, "Don't be naughty, princess. Luli has just passed the second heaven's tribulation. How can he catch the fruit you threw at him?" "Little princess?" Luli frowned. Could she be the daughter of the Demon King? Wasn't it rumored that the great Demon King wasn't married? How did she have a daughter? Not fun. The chubby girl pouted. All of a sudden, she stood up and flew into the distance. Luli felt his vision blurred, and then the girl was gone. This speed, Luli was speechless. The kid was so fast. He must be as fast as a warrior at the peak of the third tribulation. How could a child who looked at most 4 or 5 years old have such a fast speed? Could it be that she had the battle prowess of the peak of the third tribulation? Don't think too much. It's not what you think it is. Don't ask too much, and don't tell anyone about this. Axe Demon's voice rang in Luli's mind. Luli was even more surprised. Not what he thought it was. Then what was it? What was the identity of this little girl? "Come in." A cold female voice came from the room. Axe Demon led Luli into the cabin. The furnishings in the cabin were simple, just some simple wooden furniture. There was no one inside, but there were 2 doors. Axe Demon pushed one of them open and walked into the backyard. There was a garden in the backyard. Luli followed Axe Demon in and saw a girl sitting under a pavilion in the garden. The girl was sitting on a cattail hassock with her legs crossed. She had a string of Buddhist beads in her left hand and a book in her right hand. She was reading. She wore a long black dress and had a slim figure. Her entire body exuded a very unique temperament. Zen. That was right. Luli saw a trace of Zen in the girl. She was like a transcendent being, like a Buddha. There was a touch of Buddha nature and holiness about her. What surprised Luli was that the girl didn't wear any mask and her face was not blurry. However, Luli couldn't see her face clearly. To be exact, Luli could see her face clearly, but he had no memory of her. There was no image of her in his soul. This was a strange feeling that he could not put into words. Luli couldn't recognize the girl no matter how hard he tried. What kind of skill is this? Luli was taken aback. This skill was unimaginable. It must be some kind of secret skill. Axe Demon walked to the pavilion, got down on one knee with respect and said, "Greetings, my lord." Luli came to his senses and walked over. He was about to get down on one knee when the Devil Lord said, "You are not my subordinate. You don't have to bow. What do you want to see me for?" Even though the Devil Lord had a sense of Zen and Buddha nature about her, her words were cold. She was filled with killing intent, which made people feel uncomfortable. Since the Devil Lord had said so, Luli didn't kneel. He just bowed. He stood on the side with his hands down, not daring to look or say anything. Axe Demon stood up and explained, "This is Luli, the one in the brainstorm sea. He has transformed into the Hell Killer. He just went through the second heaven's tribulation at the demon traversing platform. Because of his strong body, the heaven's tribulation he attracted was very powerful. During the tribulation of primordial chaos, he accidentally absorbed some chaotic energy into his body. He wants to ask you how to deal with the chaotic energy in his body." Luli still didn't say anything. He just bowed again. For the first time, the Devil Lord looked up. Luli felt she was looking at him. It was as if 2 rays of Buddha light had enveloped him. All his secrets could be seen through. The Devil Lord looked away and went back to her book. She seemed to be thinking about the chaotic energy as well. She said nothing. Axe Demon and Luli held their breaths. Even though the Devil Lord didn't release any pressure, she alone was enough to make people feel as if they were walking on thin ice. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, the Devil Lord finally said, "Since the chaotic energy is in your body, it will not go berserk. Don't think of the chaotic energy as terrifying. Sometimes, destruction means new life. The chaotic energy can destroy the source of all life. It is a very powerful energy. If you can make good use of it, Luli, you will be closer to the supreme immortal body." The chaotic energy can be absorbed? Luli was both surprised and delighted. If the chaotic energy could be absorbed like the primordial chaos energy, then his physical body would be improved many times. He would be one step closer to the supreme immortal body. After some thoughts, Luli couldn't help but bow and ask, "How can I absorb the chaotic energy? Can you tell me the right way? I have never cultivated an immortal body, so I cannot give you any advice." The Devil Lord waved her hand and said, "You will have to figure it out yourself. Think about how you can absorb the chaotic energy into your body. Start with that. Since you can suppress the chaotic energy, then you must have a way to absorb it. Okay, you can leave now." "Thank you, my lord." Chapter 2037. Axe Demon did not ask Luli to stay after they left the island. He only said that if Luli needed anything, Luli could come to his mansion. This made Luli feel flattered. It seemed like the Axe Demon was treating him a little too well. It just so happened that Axe Demon did not want anything from Luli. Axe Demon knew Luli had the divine iron, but he had no intention of taking it. The most valuable thing Axe Demon had was the divine iron, which might be a fragment of a holy weapon. Since Axe Demon did not want the divine iron, then Luli could not figure out why Axe Demon was being so nice to him. There was no hatred or love for no reason in the world. Luli did not believe that Axe Demon was being so nice to him out of pure admiration. Maybe I am overthinking? Luli pondered as he walked. Maybe Axe Demon was simply trying to help the younger generation. Luli walked out of the mansion after a while, but he could not figure it out. "Let's go back now." Patriarch Chen was waiting outside the mansion. Seeing Luli come out, Patriarch Chen showed Luli to the teleportation formation and went back to the Cloud Mountain without asking any questions. I will report to Fairy Tianyun. Patriarch Chen went to see Fairy Tianyun by himself. After a while, he came back and said, "She is in closed-door cultivation, so she will not call you in. She told me to congratulate you and to stabilize your realm. The contest of geniuses is about to begin." Okay. Luli went back to where he lived. He took a bath and then ordered some food and wine. He felt he had a narrow escape from the gates of hell, and it was worth celebrating. This time, Lady E did not come, which surprised Luli. Lady E came and went like a ghost. He did not know where she lived. When she appeared, he could see her. If she didn't, he would not know where to find her. After resting for half a day, Luli sat in his room with his legs crossed and began to think about what the Demon Lord said. If he could consume the energy of primordial chaos, his physical strength would be improved by several times. This was the energy of primordial chaos. Think about how you can absorb the energy of primordial chaos into your body. Start from there. If you can suppress the energy of primordial chaos, then you must have a way to absorb it. Remembering what the Demon Lord said, the first thing that came to Lu Li's mind was the trace of the Great Tao. He could absorb the energy of primordial chaos with the help of the trace of the Great Tao. In the past, he had absorbed the Grand Mist energy because of the Great Tao scar. The mark of Great Tao came from the primordial realm. Lu Li carved it into his body. In other words, if I can completely comprehend the traces of the Great Tao, I will be able to refine the Chaos Aura? Lu Li had some ideas. But how should he study the trace of Great Tao? Lu Li, on the other hand, was not so sure. The trace of Tao was mysterious. He did not understand it, but he did not know where to start. Let's refine a divine medicine first. This time I've damaged some of my life force. Lu Li took out a stock of heaven and earth elixir. During the heavenly tribulation, he had damaged a bit of his source of life. If he did not repair it, it would be problematic in the future. He had a lot of divine medicines of heaven and earth, including 2 that could heal the life essence. After spending a day refining them, he felt refreshed and full of vigor, as if he had become much younger. After transcending the tribulation, I feel like my whole body has transformed. My physical body should have improved a lot. Lu Li checked. After the heavenly tribulation, he felt that all aspects of his body had been improved. His physical body, divine energy, and soul had all been sublimated. He felt his pellets had grown larger and could store more divine energy now. His soul had turned into a dark golden color, a clear sign that it had been strengthened. As for his physical body, he did not feel much except that it had been improved a bit. I will consume the divine marrow while studying the trace of Great Tao. Lu Li activated the inhibition formation in the room. While consuming the divine marrow, he studied the trace of Great Tao in his body. There was more divine marrow left. He could improve his physical body after consuming it. The heavenly tribulation had improved his physical body, but not by much. If he could consume all the divine marrow, his physical body would be several times stronger. Once the divine marrow entered his body, most of it was absorbed by his bones. His bones began to turn dark yellow. The 10 body refinement items were created by nature. With each passing day, Lu Li could clearly feel that his physical body was different. He had been cultivating for over a month and consumed another 1/5 of the divine marrow. His bones had turned dark yellow and there was no sign of them turning black. Lu Li was not disappointed since he was prepared for this. Patriarch Chen was here. The contest of geniuses was about to begin. Lu Li must stop cultivating. He stood up and stretched his body. With every move, he felt he was filled with endless strength. Looking at his glistening skin, he was satisfied. His physical body should be stronger than a warrior at the middle stage of the third tribulation. An average warrior at the Third Tribulation would not be able to kill Luli without some particularly powerful move. They might not even be able to inflict serious injuries on him. Such a shame. If I had another half a year to consume all the divine marrow, I would be able to kill Yun Kaiwe in the contest of geniuses. Luli was a bit disappointed. If he had consumed all the divine marrow, Yun Kaiwe wouldn't be able to kill him even if he just stood there, unless Yun Kaiwe had a holy weapon fragment as well. Luli made no progress after studying the trace of Great Tao for over a month. It was too abstruse for him to know where to start. There were thousands of traces of Great Tao, which formed a mysterious diagram that included everything. It was difficult to learn even a corner of it, let alone a complete understanding. Let's go. Luli walked out. Patriarch Chen was already waiting outside. Lady Yi was standing next to Patriarch Chen. She was sticking her tongue out and smiling mischievously. Patriarch Chen, Lady Yi. Luli saluted. Patriarch Chen nodded and said, "In this contest of geniuses, there are 4 from the Omen Island. Apart from the 2 of you, there is a descendant of the Axe Demon and a young man named by the Demon King himself. Now, you will come with me to the Omen City and meet up with the other 2. We will go to the Island of Chaos together. The 2 of you only have one mission, to kill the young master of the Saint Origin Hall, Yun Kaiwe." Luli was not surprised at all. He was just curious. Lady Yi was going to carry out this mission as well? Was Lady Yi also chosen by Fairy Tianyun? Was there another trap? Was she afraid that Luli could not kill Yun Kaiwe, so she prepared another way? Ha ha, Luli is enough. Lady Yi said with a smile. Luli is so strong. He can kill the divine princes of the Hall of Black Flame and the Fu family. Killing Yun Kaiwe will be a piece of cake. I will just go and watch. Luli will win and come back in triumph. Luli rolled his eyes. He was speechless, but it was not his place to argue with Lady Yi. He asked, "Don't we need to meet the fairy? Is there anything she wants to tell us?" "She is still in closed-door cultivation," Patriarch Chen explained. "She has sent me a message. This time, Axe Demon will go with you. Don't worry. As long as you don't leave the Island of Chaos, nobody will dare to touch you even if you kill Yun Kaiwe." "Okay." Luli nodded and asked no more questions. Axe Demon was strong. Luli felt more at ease with him leading the team. Chapter 2038. You don't have to go back. Fairy Tianyun's words put pressure on Luli. She didn't say that he didn't have to go back to the Cloud Mountain. She said that he didn't have to go back to the Omen Island. She was the favorite sister of the Asmodean king. Luli really couldn't survive at the Omen Island because of her words. Sometimes, Fairy Tianyun gave people the feeling that she was very amiable, but sometimes she gave people the feeling that she was cold and ruthless, making people unable to fathom her. But Luli and Fairy Tianyun were partners. She would help Luli and Luli would help her kill someone. She had helped Luli a lot and now it was Luli's turn to help her. Luli thought about it and cupped his fist. "Patriarch Chen, tell her that if I cannot kill Yun Kaiwe, I will be too ashamed to come back." Lady Yi nodded. Patriarch Chen brought them to the teleportation formation and teleported to the Omen City. The 3 of them walked toward the mansion of the City Lord. Lady Yi's beauty attracted many people's attention. Luli had just caused a sensation not long ago. Many people in the city knew him and they were talking about him. "Luli, I didn't know that you are so famous." Lady Yi approached Luli and whispered to him. Luli shrugged and said, "I am more famous out there." "Ha ha." Lady Yi stuck her tongue out mischievously and said, "If you kill Yun Kaiwe at the Island of Chaos, you will be even more famous. You have offended 3 super forces at once. I think you will have the whole world as your enemy." "Isn't the Asmodean king the whole world as well?" Luli said non-committally. Any powerful warrior who wants to climb up must touch other people's interests and offend some forces. If you don't climb up by stepping on others, then you will become a stepping stone for others. Natural selection and survival of the fittest. This is an unchanging truth. You are ambitious. I have faith in you. Lady E giggled and said, Luli, when you become the most powerful warrior at the second heaven, you must protect me. Luli wanted to tease her. He touched her with his arm and said, This is not a problem. What is our relationship? Your business is my business, and your people are my people. Bah! Lady E blushed. She glared at Luli and said, How dare you flirt with me? I will castrate you. Ah! Luli smiled. He felt more relaxed after the conversation. A big battle was imminent. Only with a peaceful mind could he perform to the best of his ability. Elder Churn stated his purpose of coming, and the people from the City Lord Mansion brought them in. Blade Demon didn't appear, and neither did Axe Demon. That person just asked the three of them to sit in the side hall. All of you, take a look. Elder Chun took out 2 booklets and handed them over. This is the Genius ranking released 2 months ago. The people inside are probably your opponent. Luli hadn't been paying attention to this. He curiously took the book and flipped through it. The book was well made and very exquisite. There were portraits of the characters on it, which were drawn to perfection. There was also a brief introduction of the characters, as well as an introduction of their abilities. The ranking was backward, starting from the 100th. Luli saw that the 100th was a warrior at the peak of the second tribulation, a chosen one from a major force. Luli read on and memorized the information of those warriors. The ones at the beginning were not interesting. They were all at the peak of the second tribulation, but each of them had their own moves and they were all young. At the 63rd place, Luli saw a familiar face, young Master Go from the Sea of Storms. Starting from the 63rd place, all of them were third tribulation heaven immortals. He saw more familiar faces. Lady Cheong, Lady Mu, young Master Bu, and young Master Qin were all on the list. Young Master Qin was at the top at the 38th place. Luli, you are on the list. Lady E suddenly shouted. Luli frowned. He took a look and saw that Luli was on the list. He was at the top at the 32nd place. Written on the booklet was, Hellish God of Massacre. His background was unknown. In the portrait, he had dragon wings on his back and a bronze mask. He was as fast as a warrior at the peak of the third tribulation. His physical body was strong and his overall abilities were at the middle stage of the third tribulation. Middle stage of the third tribulation? Luli nodded. That was about right. The list was well researched. Luli's curiosity grew. He was at the 32nd place. Then, how powerful were the other 31 warriors? Luli continued to read. When he saw the ones at the top, he was taken aback. The ones at the top were all at the middle stage of the third tribulation. They were the chosen ones from the 36 major forces or the talented ones trained by the hidden families. Every one of them had their own skills and were powerful. Even the weakest among them was at the middle stage of the third tribulation. Their sects all had powerful skills and secret skills which they had mastered. Their abilities were formidable. It is said that the chosen ones are born from fighting among the young. None of the chosen ones from the major forces can be underestimated. Luli exclaimed. How many were there in the young generation of a major force? There must be over 10,000 of them in total. Since they were young, they had been provided with rich resources and conditions. Every one of them was a talent. It was not hard to imagine how outstanding the chosen ones were. Luli continued to read. When he reached the top 10, he was even more shocked. The young lady at the 8th place might be at the later stage of the third tribulation. Luli was even more shocked when he reached the 7th place. It was confirmed that the girl at the 7th place had reached the later stage of the third tribulation. That was to say, the top 7 on the list were all at the later stage of the Third Tribulation. Many old warriors could not reach the later stage of the Third Tribulation even after hundreds of thousands of years of cultivation. But the young generation could reach the top. How many heroes and warriors are there in the world? There are hundreds of millions of warriors. Inevitably, there will be some freaks and geniuses. We cannot underestimate them. Luli exclaimed again. He had thought he could go anywhere in the world with the unfettered steps and the dragon wings. Now, it seemed that there were too many strange people in the world. There would always be someone stronger than him. He could die easily if he was careless. Hiss, hiss, Lady Yi gasped and shouted. Luli, look at Yun Kaiwe. He is the second on the list. His comprehensive abilities are at the later stage of the Third Tribulation. Before Luli reached the front, he opened the booklet and flipped it open. After a few glances, his expression became solemn. Yun Kaiwe, the chosen one of the Saint Origin Palace. 7 years ago, he passed the third heaven's tribulation. Then, he tried the Tower of Saint Origin. Now, he had passed the 4th level of the Tower of Saint Origin. His comprehensive abilities were at the later stage of the Third Tribulation. Skills and killing moves unknown. Secret treasures unknown. Luli was the 32nd on the list, but Yun Kaiwe wanted to kill the second one. Luli found it funny and felt pressured. At first, he was full of confidence. His physical body had improved a lot, and he had the godly iron. It shouldn't be difficult for him to kill Yun Kaiwe. Now, after he saw the list, he was not so sure. He paused for a moment and turned to the last page. He wanted to see who was the first on the list. However, when he turned to the last page, his hand suddenly trembled. The book fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with shock. Chapter 2039. The name Inqingxi was familiar to Luli at the same time. He had seen this name in the divinity but never in person. Inqingxi's name was on the list of beauties and talents in the divinity. Back then, Luli suspected that Inqingxi was the blind lady, the one he knew in the 9 universes. Unfortunately, he didn't see her in the divinity. Like Lu Ling, she disappeared without a trace. It was as if the list of beauties and talents were fabricated. Nobody had seen her in person and she never showed up again. Now that Luli saw the name again, his first thought was that it was a coincidence. How could that blind lady be at the second heaven? She was the number 1 on the list? What is it? Lady Yi and Patriarch Chen noticed Luli's expression. They looked at him curiously. Luli smiled in embarrassment. Nothing. He picked up the booklet again and read it carefully. However, there was little information about Inqingxi. Her portrait was blurry. He could only tell that she was a girl. Her force was unknown, her abilities were unknown, and her skills were unknown. The booklet only mentioned one thing. 3 months ago, she went to the Saint Origin Hall alone and made it to the 5th level of the Tower of Origin. Yun Kaiwe only made it to the 4th level of the Tower of Origin. Since Inqingxi could make it to the 5th level, she must be stronger than Yun Kaiwe. Therefore, it was reasonable for her to be the number 1 on the list. Luli noticed that Lady Yi and Patriarch Chen were still looking at him. He smiled in embarrassment and said, "Is the number 1 on the list at the peak of the Third Tribulation? She is so young and yet she can compete with a powerful warrior at the second heaven. She is incredible." There are 7 levels in the Tower of Origin, Patriarch Chen explained. Historically, to become the Grand Master of the Saint Origin Hall, one must pass the 7th level. The number 1 should not be at the peak of the Third Tribulation, but she is very close. Impressive! Luli exclaimed. He was excited. If Inqingxi was going to the contest, he might have the chance to meet her. He could tell if she was the blind lady or not with just one look. Rustle, rustle, rustle. At that moment, there came some footsteps. 2 people walked in together. Lu Li, Lady Yi and Patriarch Chen looked over. They were two young men. One of them was a man with a handsome face and an extraordinary aura. However, he seemed to be showing off a little, like a peerless sword that had been unsheathed, attracting people's gazes. This man was young, about the same age as Lu Li. But clearly, he was a 3 trials heaven immortal. The other one didn't have any special characteristics. She had an ordinary face, a gentle temperament, a smile, and looked harmless. Standing next to the handsome young master, she felt like a green leaf that complemented the flowers. Both of them are experts who have undergone 3 tribulations. I wonder which one of them is the young master of the Axe Demon family? Lu Li nodded. The handsome young master walked in with his chest puffed out. He looked at Lady Yi at once. A hearty smile appeared on his face as he cupped his hands towards Miss Yi and said, "This must be Miss Yi, right? I am Feng Yima, and I am honored to be fighting alongside Miss Yi on Chaos Island." "Greetings, young Master Feng." Lady Yi's expression was calm. She was neither rude nor enthusiastic. She seemed to be keeping people at a distance. The other young master walked over, cupped his fists and said, "Nice to meet you, young Master Lu, Lady Yi. I am Gan Lin." Lu Li cupped his fists with a smile. Lady Yi nodded. Surprisingly, she smiled and said, "Young Master Gan, nice to meet you. When is your grandpa coming?" Lu Li had thought that Feng Yima was the descendant of the Axe Demon. Little did he know that this seemingly harmless and ordinary Gan Lin was the descendant of the Axe Demon. But on second thought, Lu Li remembered that this was the temperament of the Axe Demon. The Axe Demon was always smiling and didn't look dignified at all. Wasn't that a sign that they were of the same lineage? Gan Lin looked outside, scratched his head and said, "I don't know. Grandpa always comes and goes like a shadow." Feng Yima seemed to be unhappy that Lady Yi and Lu Li didn't pay attention to him but were friendly to Gan Lin. He snorted and sat down by himself. He glanced over and saw the booklet in Lu Li's and Lady Yi's hands. He sneered and said, "Lady Yi, young Master Lu, are you looking at the genius list? It's okay, you don't have to. Many real geniuses are not on the list. The list is inaccurate." Lady Yi put on a gentle smile. She turned around and said, "It is a bit inaccurate. Young Master Feng, I don't think you are on the list. I think young Master Feng's fighting capacity is more than enough to make it to the top 10. Top 10 is nothing." Young Master Feng waved his hand and said, "I am confident that I can fight with the top 5. If I cannot make it to the top 5, I, Feng Yima, will be too ashamed to go back to the Omen Island. I will be disgraced by the Demon King." "Top 5? Lu Li touched his nose embarrassedly. He picked up his teacup to hide his expression. This Feng Yima was too arrogant. He was a nobody and he said he wanted to fight with the top 5 on the genius list? That being said, this man was appointed by the Demon King in person. Maybe he did have some powerful fighting capacity. "Young Master Feng, you are so heroic." Lady Yi's smile lit up the entire hall. She looked at Gan Lin and asked, "Young Master Gan? How far do you think you can make it?" Gan Lin put on a bitter expression. He touched his head and said, "I didn't want to go this time but my grandpa insisted. I will try to make it to the top 30. If I can't, my grandpa will beat me to death." Gan Lin was humble. Lu Li had a good impression of him because of the Axe Demon. Lady Yi looked at Lu Li with a cunning look and said, "Young Master Lu? Are you confident that you can make it to the number 1? Poof! Lu Li spat out the tea he just had and choked. He said with a bitter smile, "Lady Yi, don't flatter me. I will be thankful if I can make it to the top 100. Gan Lin seemed to know something about Lu Li. He said with a smile, "Young Master Lu, you are too humble. You can make it to the top 10. Feng Yima had never looked at Lu Li in the eye because he was only at the second tribulation realm. Now, he looked at Lu Li in the eye and said, "Young Master Lu, I have never heard of you. Are you from the He family? Luli wanted to say that he had never heard of him, but he didn't want to argue with him. He said with a smile, Young Master Feng, don't listen to them. I am from the lower universe and I am weak. I am here to broaden my horizons. Young Master Feng waved his hand and said, You don't have to belittle yourself. You are only at the second tribulation realm, but many young masters at the second heaven are just superficial. They are at high realms but not powerful. You can make it to the top 100 if you work hard. Lady Yi laughed. This young Master Feng was such a snob. He didn't even know where Luli was when he was making a scene at the storm area. How could he look down on Luli like this? Elder Chen's lips curled into a mocking smile, but he didn't say anything. You are all here. Chapter 2040. The Island of Chaos was far away. It would take at least 3 to 4 months to get there by teleportation formation. Clearly, there was not enough time. Demon Axe had taken them to the Island of Chaos through a spatial gate. Patriarch Chen did not go with them. He told Luli that they would wait for his triumphant return. Demon Axe took them to a castle where 5 old warriors were waiting. Demon Axe waved his hand and said, Open the spatial gate. Let's go to the Island of Chaos. It was the first time that Luli had seen someone open a spatial gate. When he was at the Palace of Heaven's Music, he saw Lady Qiong and the others doing it. But he had never seen how it was done. The 5 old warriors took out a huge jade disc and began to engrave divine glyphs on the jade butterfly. Luli observed with curiosity. The divine glyphs were complicated and he could not understand them at all. Though he could not understand them, he could still remember how to engrave the divine glyphs and then transmit them to Blood Fairy. Blood Fairy had been studying divine glyph. Perhaps the divine glyphs could help her. After an hour, the jade butterfly glowed. Demon Axe nodded and said, Okay, let's go in. We will be teleported for a long time. Take it easy. Demon Axe led the 4 in. Feng Yima was not as high profile as before. He knew very well how powerful Demon Axe was. Being high profile in front of a powerful warrior would infuriate Demon Axe and he would be smashed to death. They entered the jade butterfly. Demon Axe poured out divine energy. The jade butterfly glowed. Then, space suddenly collapsed. A black hole appeared and swallowed them in. It was pitch dark. Luli felt a strange force enveloped him. He could not move at all. He had to move forward with that force. It was a strange feeling. Luli wondered what force was guiding them forward. How was the spatial gate located at the Island of Chaos? After a long time, maybe a day or 2, Luli saw a glimmer of light up ahead. He was led out of the light by that force. He found himself above a huge island. His soul was not strong enough. After teleporting for such a long time, he felt dizzy. He staggered. Luli, are you okay? Lady E grabbed Luli or else he would have fallen. Luli was pale. He forced a smile and said, Thank you, Lady E. I am dizzy, but I am okay. His soul is a little weak. Seeing that Lady E was grabbing Luli, young Master Feng's eyes turned cold. He said coldly, It is a bit hard for you to participate in the contest of geniuses with your current strength. Hee. Axe Demon laughed. He glanced over to Luli and teased, Punk, you better do well this time. Otherwise, you will be looked down upon. Luli forced a smile, cupped his fists and said, I will try my best. I will not let you down, Lord Axe Demon. Let's go. Axe Demon didn't say anything. He waved his hand and brought the 4 of them down. There was a small city below. There weren't many experts in the city. There was only an army standing guard. Axe Demon's group of 5 entered the city, and a commander-like martial artist led a group of people to welcome them. He cupped his hands and said, Is this Sir Axe Demon? The great Demon King was famous in the 2nd layer of heaven, so the 10 slaughter generals under her command were naturally paid attention to. It was normal for Axe Demon to be recognized as soon as he arrived. Axe Demon nodded. The leader's expression became more respectful. He cupped his fists. Sir Axe Demon, are you going to rest here or head straight to Primal Chaos City? To the City of Chaos. Axe Demon waved his hand. The leader led the group to the teleportation formation with great respect. There wasn't much to see in the small city. They stepped into the teleportation formation. After a glare, they arrived at a huge city. The city was floating in the air, about the same size as the Asmodean city. It was a lively city with people coming and going. Luli could see nothing but castles and buildings with psychic power. Ha ha ha. Before Luli could finish his exploration, a group of people ran over from the distance. Someone laughed from the distance and said, Lord Axe Demon is here in person. I think the scale of the tournament has increased. Yes. Axe Demon is here in person. I think the Omen Island is going to be the champion. Greetings, Lord Axe Demon. I am a patriarch of the Heroes Alliance. Lord Axe Demon, I am. A group of people came over. Luli and the other three were pushed to the back. Lady E noticed that Luli was speechless. She smiled and said, Don't make such a fuss. Every family will send someone to the tournament. Don't be fooled by the number of people in the city. Many are not here for the tournament. They are here to socialize. The fight with the Asmodean Lord established the Omen Island's reputation. It is normal that Lord Axe Demon is popular. Axe Demon greeted them for a while. Then, he waved his hand and said, You four, go to the yard with Patriarch Lu to rest and prepare for the tournament. In 3 days, the tournament will begin. You can have fun but don't slack off. Luli and the other three cupped their fists. The old guys flattered the four of them. Many psychic powers were locked on them. After all, they were from the Omen Island. The Omen Island was in the limelight. Luli and the others were the center of attention as well. Luli noticed that many young masters and young ladies at the plaza were looking at them. But most of the attention was on Lady E and young Master Feng. Lady E was so pretty and young Master Feng was so elegant. As for young Master Gon and Luli, they were just side characters. Young Master Gon's looks were average, and there was nothing special about him. Luli was a second tribulation heaven god, so many people ignored him. They followed a patriarch into a yard. Everyone had their own room with brand new things. There were maids to serve them. The treatment was of a high standard. Patriarch Lu left after exchanging some pleasantries. Before Luli and the others could sit down, someone handed in a visitation card. Someone came to greet them. Luli didn't want to see anyone. Those who came must be young masters and young ladies from small families. He was about to go to his room to rest when young Master Feng picked up the visitation card and asked with a frown, Who wants to see us? I don't want to see young masters and young ladies from small families. Wait, young Master Qin Zhan of the Qin family? Lady Qiong of the Alliance of Immortals? And Lady Mu of the Mu family? They are all on the list. I have nothing to do with them. Why do they want to see me? Qin Zhan? Luli stopped. What was Qin Zhan doing? Was he trying to let the world know that Luli was the god of massacre? Why did Luli come to see him as soon as he arrived at the Island of Chaos? It was easy to arouse suspicion. That being said, no violence was allowed at the Chaos Island. The City of Chaos was full of powerful warriors, and the Axe Demon was here. Luli didn't leave. He sat in the hall and waited. Young Master Feng asked someone to invite the guests in. Soon, 3 people came in. As soon as Qin Zhan came in, he looked at Luli and put on a bright smile. Lady Qiong and Lady Mu also looked at Luli. They ignored everyone else. 3 young Master Feng stood up and was ready to greet them with a smile. However, he noticed that the 3 people didn't even look at him. Young Master Qin walked past him and stood in front of Luli. I knew you would not die. Ha ha ha. Qin Zhan walked over with a laugh and punched Luli. Luli touched his nose in embarrassment and said, "You want me to die? You are not a good person." "Young Master Lu is not a good person." Lady Mu frowned and said, "He fooled us. If it were not for the fact that we found some clues, Qin Zhan would have kept it from us." Lady Qiong forced a smile. She bowed and said, "Young Master Lu, you are very resourceful. You have deceived everyone." Qin Zhan said, "My forefather used the black tortoise fruit and Yu Qiong found out. They all figured out your identity. I can't do anything." Chapter 2041. As a matter of fact, Lady Qiong and Lady Mu already had their suspicions at the Yuanyi world. Qin Long had the black tortoise fruit, but he still asked young Master Fu to search him? Demons from hell suddenly appeared and killed young Master Fu during the search? How could there be such a coincidence in the world? After they came out, Lady Qiong and Lady Mu secretly arranged someone to investigate. They found out that a forefather of the Qin family had taken the black tortoise fruit and that demons from hell were near the Omen Island. Connecting all the dots, it was not hard to figure out the truth. Young Master Qin loved Lady Qiong, so he couldn't lie to her. Therefore, he told her the truth, which led to the current situation. Luli wasn't afraid that his identity would be exposed. Fairy Tian Yun said that he would be safe at the Chaos Island. She was the sister of the Demon King, and to some extent, she could represent the attitude of the Demon King. However, young Master Qin and the other two had come to him openly, which would attract attention. It would be more difficult to kill Yun Kaiwe. Therefore, Luli smiled and said, "Guys, let me introduce you. This is Lady Yi, the #1 young lady of the Omen Island. This is young Master Gonlin, the descendant of the Axe Demon. This is young Master Feng." Lady Yi stared at Luli, bowed and said, "Nice to meet you. Don't listen to Luli. I am just a nobody. I am here to broaden my horizons with young Master Lu." Gonlin smiled and said, "That's right. We are here for fun. We just want to see Luli's performance." Feng Yima was a bit unhappy. Lady Qiong and Lady Mu were goddesses of their respective forces. Feng Yima was a show-off, so he couldn't keep a low profile. He laughed and said, "So, you are Luli's friends? That means you are a friend of mine, Feng Yima. You are dragons and phoenixes among men. You are famous on the list. When we meet at the arena in the future, I hope you can be kind to me." Young Master Qin and the other two were smart. They knew that Luli didn't want to talk about the past when he introduced them. They also understood the relationship between Luli and Lady Yi from the order of introduction. After the three returned the greetings, young Master Qin and Gonlin began to chat. Lady Qiong and Lady Mu took Lady Yi to the side to talk, leaving young Master Feng embarrassed. Young Master Feng glanced over and touched his nose in embarrassment. He looked at Luli and said, "Luli, I didn't expect that you could make friends like young Master Qin, Lady Qiong and Lady Mu. Are you thinking of leaving Heavenly Devil Island and joining other forces?" "Not at the moment." Luli hated this young Master Feng. He didn't want to talk to him anymore. Luli replied and asked Qin Zhan, "Young Master Qin, do you want to go to the secret realm of primordial chaos this time?" "Of course." Qin Zhan didn't hide it at all. Who doesn't want to enter the primal chaos secret realm? It only opens once every 100 years. This is an extremely rare opportunity. The primal chaos mystic realm contains the law of primal chaos. If you can comprehend a thing or two inside, you will benefit for the rest of your life. Only the top 30 can enter? Luli asked. Seeing Qin Zhan nod his head, he looked at the three and said, "Do you all have the confidence to enter the top 30? How many people were on the genius ranking this time? Are the top 10 all here?" "I'm not confident," Miss Mu continued. "Up until now, at least 30 people from the top 50 of the genius rankings have come, and 6 of the top 10 have come. The pressure is quite great." Ha ha ha, when there is pressure, there will be challenges, young Master Feng added. If the top 10 on the genius ranking are not here, then the contest of geniuses will be meaningless. You are well informed. I wonder how many of the top 5 on the genius ranking are here? Is Yin Qingxi the number 1 here? If she is, then I can fight her. Young Master Feng's tone was so arrogant that people were disgusted. But he did help Lu Li get the answer he wanted. Lu Li wanted to ask if Yin Qingxi was here. I don't know. Seeing that Lady Qiong and Lady Mu had no intention to respond, young Master Qin explained, Yin Qingxi is very mysterious. I have asked around and nobody has seen her face. Even when she went to the Tower of Sacred Vitality, she covered her face. This time, I am not sure if she will come. But Yun Kaiwe, the number 2, and the number 3, 4 and 5 are all here. Brother Feng, you can have a good fight with the 4. If you can kill one of them, you will be famous. There is no need to kill them. Young Master Feng waved his hand casually and said, You can defeat them. Being famous is not a good thing. Sometimes you can only climb higher by keeping a low profile. I didn't get on the genius list because I don't want to be too high profile. PFF, young lady, he nearly spat out a mouthful of tea. This Feng Yima's skin was really as thick as a city wall. How could he be low-key like this? Qin Zhan thought he was a good-tempered man, but he couldn't stand it anymore. If Feng Yima really was a famous genius, like the top 5 on the genius list, then Qin Zhan would think he was right to be arrogant. An unknown young man who had just come out was spouting nonsense here. It was inevitable that the crowd would feel displeased by this. Feng Yima thought of something and said, Brother Lu, can I talk to you in private? I have something to discuss with you. Sure, come with me. Lu Li stood up and walked to his room with Qin Zhan. Lady Qiong and Lady Mu didn't want to listen to Feng Yima's bragging. They dragged Lady Yi out to visit the manor. I will go back and cultivate as well. Gan Lin didn't say anything. He touched his head and left, leaving Feng Yima alone. Feng Yima was not an idiot. He knew that people didn't want to talk to him. A trace of gloom appeared in his eyes as he said angrily, Today, you are indifferent to me. In the future, you will not be able to reach me. This time, I will make a name for myself by stepping on all the geniuses. Lu Li brought Qin Zhan into the room. As soon as the inhibition formation was turned on, Qin Zhan pouted and said, Where did you find such a weirdo at the Omen Island? You are so arrogant. I don't know. Lu Li touched his nose and said, I have never heard of him before, but the Demon King named him himself. Maybe he has something. Speaking of which, you have come to me in such a high-profile manner. It will attract a lot of attention to me. Ha ha ha. Qin Zhan laughed and said, You think your identity is a secret? The Black Flame Hall and the Fu family have spent a lot of money to bribe many people at the Omen Island. Many people at the Cloud Mountain have been bribed. They have known who you are. You must be careful this time. Even though the Omen Island cannot go to war, you will still be in danger if they take risks out of desperation. Taking risks out of desperation? Lu Li frowned. He thought of a question and asked, Who is responsible for the safety of the Omen Island? If the two forces were to fight, can the powerful warriors of the Omen Island stop them? The 36 forces are responsible for the safety of the Omen Island. Qin Zhan explained, Safety is not a problem. As long as you are not killed instantly, the powerful warriors of the Omen Island can protect you. There are 36 warriors at the later stage or the peak of the third tribulation guarding here. Wait, Lu Li's expressions changed and said, This place is guarded by the 36 forces. The Black Flame Hall has people here as well. If the Black Flame Hall and the Fu family bribed the powerful warriors of the Omen Island, won't I die for sure? They cannot be bribed. Chapter 2042. After chatting with Qin Zhan for a couple of hours, Luli learned a lot about the situation. He also understood which geniuses were coming this time. His heart was heavy. Qin Zhan and the rest also felt great pressure. They wanted to enter the top 30 and then enter the Primal Chaos secret realm. However, there were too many monstrous geniuses this time. Qin Zhan told him one thing: the genius ranking was indeed a bit distorted. At the very least, there were some omissions. There were also some disciples from hidden clans that didn't walk outside, so they weren't recorded. The number of geniuses that came this time was twice as many as expected. Qin Zhan and the others were stressed, but Luli was even more stressed. He did not want to enter the Primal Chaos secret realm. All he wanted was to kill Yun Kaiwe. But if he wanted to kill Yun Kaiwe, he would have to fight him first. The advancement system of the genius battle was based on points. If one won consecutively, their points would be stacked. As for the opponent, it was decided by drawing lot. The person with the most points would advance directly. This time, there were tens of thousands of people participating in the battle. At the beginning of the battle, they wouldn't enter the small world of martial arts. If Luli encountered Yun Kaiwe at the beginning, he wouldn't dare to use the godly metal either. Therefore, if Luli wanted to kill Yun Kaiwe, then he must make it to the top 100 first. Then, he would have to fight against Yun Kaiwe continuously. Only by fighting against him could Luli have a chance to kill him. Those that were able to fight their way into the top 100 out of tens of thousands of people were all monstrous-level powerhouses. If he still entered the top 100 and was eliminated, then he would completely have no chance to battle Yun Kaiwe. Then, he would violate the agreement with Fairy Tianyun and would not be able to return to the Heavenly Devil Island. After Qin Zhan left, Luli didn't wander around. He activated the inhibition formation in his room and went into closed-door cultivation. Even though he only had 2 days, he wanted to try his best to consume more spirit and quintessence to improve his fighting capacity. There were too many monstrous geniuses this time. Who knew if they would encounter a freak? If he couldn't even enter the top 100, then what was there to talk about killing Yun Kaiwe? Luli was a man of integrity. Since he had promised Fairy Tianyun, he would definitely go all out and think of every possible way to kill Yun Kaiwe. He activated the restrictions and refined the divine marrow. He did not care about anything that happened outside. At the same time, he worked hard to comprehend the marks of the Great Tao and tried to refine the chaotic qi. Unfortunately, the traces of the Great Tao were too abstruse. Luli always felt he was reading a wordless book. He felt he was looking at flowers in the mist. He could not understand or see through it. The glare of the inhibition formation woke Luli up. He stood up and walked out. Outside, Axe Demon Feng Yi and Miss Ma Yi Gonlin had arrived and were waiting for him. "It's about to start." Axe Demon smiled at Luli and said, "Kid, are you ready?" "All right." Luli cupped his fists. Axe Demon nodded and said, "The 4 of you are representing the Omen Island. Your victory or defeat represents not only your honor, but the dignity of the entire Omen Island. If you cannot even make it to the top 100, you can forget about staying on the Omen Island." "Yes." The 4 of them cupped their hands in response. Axe Demon waved his hand in satisfaction and said, "Let's go to the Primal Chaos battlefield." The 4 of them followed Axe Demon out of the manor. Once they came out, the 5 of them immediately attracted countless gazes. Heavenly Devil Island had attracted a lot of attention because of the Great Demon King. Luli and the other 3 were representing the Omen Island. Naturally, they would attract a lot of attention. Someone greeted Axe Demon. Axe Demon didn't say anything. He just nodded and led the 4 of them into a transmission array. A white light flashed, and the 5 of them appeared in a huge small world. They stood on top of a tall mountain, and there were countless boulders floating in the air around the mountain. There were also numbers on those boulders. "Those are the battlefields." Lady E saw that Luli was confused. she explained. Later, after we draw lots, we will go up in pairs. You will get 1 point for each win. If you win in a row, you will get double points. Those with 100 points will advance directly. Only 100 of the 10,000 will enter the semifinals. Then, the 100 will continue to compete. The top 30 will enter the Primal Chaos Secret Realm to cultivate for a year. Well, this is simple and crude. Luli nodded. He looked around and realized that there were more people here. There were about thousands of young people and powerful warriors from different families that were participating in the fight. Lord Axe Demon, nice to meet you. Someone came to greet Axe Demon. Soon, a group of people gathered. Some young people greeted Luli and Lady E as well. Of course, most of them were here for Lady E and Feng Yima. Luli and Gon Lin were inconspicuous. They didn't like to make friends with these young masters and young ladies. More and more people were teleporting in. Luli glanced at the more than a dozen old men on the mountain. All of them were wearing gray robes, and they were sitting at the corners of the mountain. They must be powerful warriors guarding the island of chaos. Look, Lady Dream Clouds is here. She is the 5th on the list. A shout attracted Luli and the others' attention. Luli looked over and saw a lady in a white dress with a white sword in her hand. She was not the most beautiful, but she had a unique temperament. She was like a sharp sword and her eyes were intimidating. Luli didn't dare to look into her eyes. Girls were beautiful by their gentleness. Few girls had such sharp eyes, which left a deep impression on Luli. Her killing intent was strong. Luli made a mental note that he must be careful when he ran into her. Tang Ning is here. Another shout came. Luli looked over at once. Tang Ning was the 3rd powerful warrior on the list, just below Yun Kaiwe. It was said that he had cultivated a secret skill of his family. His soul attacks were horrifying and he could kill people without leaving a trace. Luli took a look. Tang Ning looked like nothing special. His looks were average and his temperament was average. There was nothing special about him. We must be more careful when facing him. The more ordinary he was, the more dangerous he was. Otherwise, he wouldn't be the 3rd on the list. This man was good at hiding his strength. Once he made a move, he would be like a storm and crush his enemies to death. More and more people were teleported in. Luli glanced over with anticipation. He hoped to see Inqingxi. If she was here, no matter how hard she tried to hide, he believed he could tell right away if she was the blind he knew. Yun Kaiwe is here, a young lady said in surprise. Luli squinted. This was his main target. He tried to suppress the killing intent in him and looked to the left. Yun Kaiwe was very handsome, his figure tall and sturdy, his outer appearance even a notch better than Feng Yima's. His aura was especially powerful. Standing there alone was like a dragon entrenched there. When he opened and closed his eyes, it was as if there was lightning flickering in his pupils. His chi and blood were strong. Even though he was far away, Luli could tell that his chi and blood were as strong as a mountain. Ah, young Master Yun is looking at me. Young Master Yun, you are so handsome. I am drunk. Many young ladies from small families were smitten. Even the men had to admit that Yun Kaiwe did have what it took to make women fall for him. They all felt ashamed of themselves. Yun Chueshua has a good son. Chapter 2043. Unparalleled. This was Lu Li's first impression of Yun Kaiwe. He had seen this kind of aura in many people, but they were all overlords. Few young people could have this kind of aura. Young, handsome, masculine, domineering, with a strong background, sharp but calm and powerful aura. These were the qualities that could attract girls. Many young masters only had a few of these qualities, but they could hook up with many young ladies. Yun Kaiwe had all of them, which was why so many girls were smitten with him. The one who came with Yun Kaiwe was an old man with a crooked back. He did not have a strong chi and energy like an old slave, But Luli believed that the Saint Origin Palace would send someone at the peak of the third tribulation to protect Yunkaiwe. He was the future hope of the Saint Origin Palace. Naturally, other forces would not plot against him. Yunkaiwe didn't talk to others. He just stood on the side indifferently. When someone greeted him, he would only nod. He didn't look arrogant. Instead, it was natural. Luli squinted. He felt pressured by this opponent. It was hard to say if he could defeat him, let alone kill him. This man was the future hope of the Saint Origin Palace. He must have some secret treasures. It would be difficult to kill him. Where is Inqingxi? Why isn't she here? Luli was disappointed. More than 10,000 people had come to the peak, but they didn't see Inqingxi. Maybe she wouldn't show up in this contest. The contest will begin in the time for 3 incense sticks to burn. Lady E whispered to Luli. Luli pursed his lips. If Inqingxi didn't show up after the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, she might not come. Luli suddenly felt a chill. He looked to the right at once and happened to see a pair of eyes staring at him like a viper. Demon Axe seemed to have noticed it as well. He looked over and said, Luli, that is the new god son of God of the Hall of Black Flame. You have killed the last one and a new one has been appointed. Be careful when you run into him. Luli nodded. He looked at the 2 old men next to that man. They must be patriarchs of the Hall of Black Flame. Luli himself was not friendly. Where is the Fu family? Luli sent a message to Demon Axe. Demon Axe tilted his head and said, Over there, in the corner. Luli looked over and saw 2 old men and a young lady in the corner. The 3 of them saw Luli looking over and their eyes were filled with killing intent. My identity has been exposed. Luli forced a smile. He didn't think too much. The Axe Demon was still at the Primal Chaos Island, and there were so many powerful warriors from different families, who would dare to do anything to him. If the Black Flame Hall and the Fu clan tried to kill him, then they would have to face the wrath of the Great Demon King. Time passed by bit by bit. It was about to begin. More and more people came in. Some of them were said to be talented disciples of hidden families, which caused a lot of discussion. Luli paid attention to them secretly. But Inqingxi, the number 1 genius on the genius list, was nowhere to be seen. Just as the battle was about to begin, a white figure suddenly teleported in. There was only one person, a woman. Her face was covered with a light veil, and she wore a green tube skirt. It was impossible to see her facial features clearly, and her aura was not very strong. After arriving, she stood there quietly. Her slender figure attracted a lot of attention. Luli threw her a look, but didn't pay too much attention. There were many masked women here as well. Luli could sense that this woman was not very strong. She seemed to be at the 3rd tribulation realm. But at that moment, Yun Kaiwe suddenly turned around and looked at the green-dressed lady, which caught Luli's attention. Not only Luli, but many others also looked over. Since Yun Kaiwe came in, he never looked at anyone. Why did he look at this lady? Can it be Luli's eyes glowed? Inqingxi once went to the Tower of Sacred Vitality and reached the 5th level. Yun Kaiwe was paying so much attention to her. Could this green-dressed lady be Inqingxi? Many people had the same idea. But this lady was so weak that she didn't look like a powerful warrior. Luli took a closer look. She didn't look like the blind he knew either. Her figure and temperament were different. Alright. A hoarse voice drew everyone's attention. A white-haired old man flew up to the sky and said, The teleportation channel to the martial arts field is closed. The contest of geniuses has officially begun. I think you all know the rules. You will draw lots and the winner will get points. Consecutive winners will get double points. Those with 100 points will directly advance to the semifinals. Life and death are not allowed in the contest. But if one side admits defeat, the other side cannot kill the other or they will be disqualified. Now we will draw lots. Go ahead and compete. We will have people to accumulate the points. Buzzing, the old man gathered divine energy and suddenly released many divine energy bubbles. Tens of thousands of divine energy bubbles floated in the air. Immediately, someone reached out to the divine energy bubbles. The divine power bubbles burst and condensed into different numbers. Whoosh whoosh. Many people immediately flew toward the floating platform with the same number. Seeing that Luli didn't move, Lady E said, "Luli, go and draw lots. The sooner you can get 100 points, the sooner you can enter the semifinals. Otherwise, when there are 100 people, your 100 points will be useless." "Ha ha, there is no hurry." Luli smiled. He noticed that Yun Kai, Yu Mengyun, and Tang Ning didn't move. Those with real abilities would not panic because they could keep winning and soon they would get 100 points. "I will go now." Feng Yima's body shot out, and he crushed a god power bubble. He found his own arena, and when he saw that there was someone on the arena, he immediately rushed up. A bright light flashed as the divine inscriptions automatically activated. Feng Yima made his move the moment he stepped in. His silhouette was like a phantom, flickering as he neared his opponent. After which, he clawed at his opponent's back, causing a bloody hole to appear on his opponent's back. "Let's go." Gon Lin glanced over to Axe Demon and forced a smile. He flew over and grabbed a divine energy bubble. Luli and Lady E looked at each other. They flew up as well and each grabbed a divine energy bubble. 68. The divine energy bubble cracked and 3 numbers appeared. Luli took a look and saw a platform floating in the air. He was relieved to see that there was someone there, a warrior who had just passed the second tribulation. Whoosh! Luli rushed over. That man was delighted to see that Luli was only at the second tribulation realm. He thought he had run into a pushover. Admit defeat. Swords and sabers have no eyes. "I am afraid that I will accidentally kill you," that man said coldly. Luli didn't want to waste time. He dashed over, took a blow from the man and punched the man half to death. "I admit defeat." That man was scared to see Luli walking over. He shouted. The runes on the floating platform glowed, and that man was teleported away. Whoosh! Chapter 2044. It was depressing to run into an acquaintance in a fight like this. Luli had to make it to the top 100 or else he would not be able to complete his task. Lady Mu wanted to make it to the next rank as well. She wanted to enter the secret realm of primordial chaos. Luli was struggling to decide whether to fight or give way. Lady Mu could tell that Luli was struggling. She said to him, "Luli, a fight is a fight. Don't worry about it. We will fight based on our own abilities. If you can defeat me, I will not blame you. If I can defeat you, I will not harm your life. Come on." Lady Mu's meaning was clear. They would fight with all they had. As long as they didn't harm each other's lives, they should not hold grudges against each other. Luli was relieved to hear that. He nodded and said, "Lady Mu, I am sorry to have offended you." Swish, young Lady Mu took out a rattan. This rattan was clearly not an ordinary rattan, it was covered in dense divine runes. She shouted, "This artifact of mine is a high-grade artifact, be careful." Swish. Lady Mu shook the rattan which glowed. There was a strange chi and energy coming from the rattan, which was astonishing. As the vines trembled, the space around them trembled, and the momentum was shocking. Hoi! Seeing that Luli had no intention to attack, Lady Mu knew that he wanted her to make the first move. She didn't hesitate. She leaped up and swung the rattan at Luli. Swish! The rattan flew over like a poisonous dragon. It split up in midair and turned into dozens smaller rattans. They locked onto Luli and began to attack him. "This is a rare artifact. Impressive." Luli nodded to himself. A princess of a big family was rich. Anything she took out was a secret treasure. He remembered that Lady Mu had an ancient chariot in the Palace of Immortals. How could a young lady have two secret treasures? Luli used the happy steps, ready to dodge. However, at that moment, he suddenly noticed that the stone platform under his feet was moving. Tree roots shot out and entangled his legs. Would fundamental principle. Luli suddenly looked to Lady Mu and saw the green glow in her hand. Luli was embarrassed. Lady Mu looked delicate, but he didn't expect her to be so powerful. I was careless. Luli forced a smile. He rarely underestimated his enemies because Lady Mu was his friend and she was a delicate beauty. He didn't fight her often. He had forgotten that Miss Mu was the Mu clan's goddess and was on the genius ranking. Her status as the Mu clan's goddess might not mean anything, but the genius ranking would not be randomly ranked. Chi, the rattan flew down. Instead of attacking Luli, it entangled him. Luli was wrapped up by the rattan and was wrapped up like a meat dumpling. Luli, show me your real strength or you will lose. Lady Mu's voice came through. Luli was restrained, but he didn't panic. He shouted, mobilized the energy in his 720 acupoints and shouted, "Okay, Lady Mu, be careful." Bang! Energy surged out from his acupuncture points, and a powerful force filled Luli's body. Luli stomped hard on the ground and the roots under his feet exploded. He waved his hands forcefully, and the vines binding his hands were actually shaken off. He punched out with both fists, sending the vines flying one after another. His body also shot forward, approaching Miss Mu at a terrifying speed. Impressive! Lady Mu nodded to herself. Luli's physical body was so strong that he could defeat average warriors of the 3 tribulation trials with his physical strength alone. He didn't even use any skills or secret treasures. As a matter of fact, Lady Mu already knew that she was no match for Luli. After all, Luli could kill young Master Yen and young Master Fu, which in itself spoke volumes. Not to mention that Luli could survive the pursuit of the 2 forces and Yen Fengming. Lady Mu was confident in her abilities, but she was not arrogant enough to compare herself with Luli. That being said, since she was fighting against Luli, she didn't want him to underestimate her. Therefore, when Lady Mu saw Luli coming, she didn't dodge. Instead, she let out a green glow. She took out a wand, waved it and said, "Luli, taste my starlight of wood." The green glow condensed into green spots the size of a fist, and rushed toward Luli. This was a method of attack that Lady Mu was very satisfied with. The starlight was endless and would explode as soon as it touched the enemy. The enemy would be too tired to deal with it and would be killed in the end. Boom, boom, boom. One starlight after another landed on Luli. The starlight was so dense that Luli could not dodge at all. That being said, the starlight was weak. It only managed to make Luli stagger back for a few steps. It couldn't break his defense. Boom, boom, boom. That being said, Lady Mu's body glowed in green. The green light condensed into starlight and smashed at Luli. Luli was forced to step back, unable to get close to Lady Mu. This girl is not bad. She can wear down an average Heaven Tribulation realm warrior to death. Luli nodded. He turned around and dodged the starlight. He took out his 7-star saber and hacked at Lady Mu. He could not get close to Lady Mu if he had to rely on his physical strength alone. He could not keep this up. The sooner he could accumulate 100 points, the sooner he could advance to the next stage. If there were 100 people, it would be pointless even if he could accumulate 10,000 points. He could not hide his identity anymore. Both the Fu family and the Hall of Black Flame knew who he was. There was no need for him to hide anymore. He took out his 7-star saber and released the Slayer's Ghost Cut. Swish, a ray of sword light whooshed across the sky. It made several turns in the air and hacked at Lady Mu. The ray of sword light was dazzling. What was more, the unique mode of attack attracted many people's attention. Many people at the foot of the mountain looked over. Luli became the center of attention. The mountain was in an uproar as well. Luli's attack pattern was quickly confirmed by others, and the identity of Luli as the Grim Reaper was immediately spread. Luli had caused quite a stir at the second heaven. After all, he had killed the divine princes of the Hall of Black Flame and the Fu family, and he had the black tortoise fruit. He offered the black tortoise fruit to buy the heads of the Fu family patriarch and the master of the Hall of Black Flame. How could people here not know such a big deal? The Hell Killer? I didn't expect that the Hell Killer is here. He can take part in the contest of geniuses? He can turn the Sea of Storm upside down and humiliate the Hall of Black Flame and the Fu family. How can he be so young? Tisk tsk, this contest of geniuses is going to be interesting. Not only are the hidden geniuses here, but the Hell Killer is here as well. Ha ha ha, the goddess of the Mu family is going to be defeated. The Hell Killer has killed 2 divine princes. He should be able to defeat the goddess of the Mu family easily. Both the Fu family and the Hall of Black Flame are here. Will they risk their lives knowing that the Hell Killer is here? The mountain was bustling with discussion. Many people were excited. Several patriarchs of the Fu family and the Hall of Black Flame pulled long faces. They wished they could kill Luli in person. Never mind, never mind. Luli, I admit defeat. When Luli released the Slayer's ghost cut, Lady Mu realized that her speed and body were slowed down. She sighed and said, Chapter 2045. Don't be in such a hurry to admit defeat. Luli felt the pressure as well. He had thought that the Slayer's ghost cut would only attract attention. Little did he expect that the outside would be in an uproar. He had underestimated the disturbance he caused at the Sea of Storms. He did not expect that he would become the center of attention. Even the warriors on the list of warriors who were fighting were paying attention. Luli thought of something and said, Lady Mu, buy me some time. I will build a plaza of divine runes down there, which will help me in the upcoming fights. Lady Mu swung her wand angrily. She generated rays of starlight to attack Luli. Why should I help you? We don't know each other. She replied angrily. All right, my first miss. Luli begged for mercy. I owe you one. Next time, I will try my best to help you. That's more like it. Lady Mu waved her wand with satisfaction. Tell me, how do you want me to help you? Tie me up with vines. Luli sent a message. Once again, Lady Mu bound Luli with her vines. This time, Luli did not break free. Instead, he said to Blood Fairy, build a dojo of apotheosis down there. Luli did not want to expose too many of his trump cards. If he could build a plaza of apotheosis on the floating platform, he would have an easier time in the upcoming fight. He could easily make it to the top 100. Blood Fairy snuck out from Luli's body and snuck under the platform. After a while, she said, Master, there are runes on the platform. I can make some slight changes, and we can build a plaza of apotheosis. Give me the time for 1 incense stick to burn. Okay. Luli was overjoyed. Try not to change the runes on the platform. I am fighting in an arena. People will say that I am breaking the rules. Okay. Blood Fairy began to build while Luli began to twist. In this way, people would think that he was trying to break the vines, which would not arouse suspicion. Wood Fairy. Lady Mu pretended to attack as well. She released more energy of wood that pierced into the vines in the form of green blurs. However, those attacks were weak and could not penetrate Luli's defense. What? Didn't the hellish slayer break the vines in an instant? Why are you trapped again? The Hell Slaughter God doesn't seem to be anything special. The Mu clan's goddess genius ranking is ranked in the 60s, yet she can actually trap him? Could it be that he's not the Grim Reaper from Hell? Otherwise, how could he be so weak? He seems to be someone from the Heavenly Devil Island. Rumor has it that the Hell-killing god entered the Heavenly Devil Island. Moreover, that killer move of his is unique, no one can imitate it. Many people outside were paying attention to Luli, seeing that Luli was trapped by Lady Mu so easily, and he hadn't broken free after the time for half an incense stick to burn. It was inevitable that people would have doubts. There were runes on the platforms in the air. When warriors went in, the shield would be activated. People on the outside could not use psychic power to check. Therefore, not even the axe demon knew what Luli was doing. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Blood Fairy said, "Master, everything is ready. Should we activate it?" "No need, wait for my orders," Luli said, and then said to Lady Mu, "Okay, Lady Mu, it's done." Bang! Luli shook his arm to knock away the vines. He flew over, pretending to punch at Lady Mu's head. Lady Mu glared at Luli but did not step back. Luli's fist stopped in front of Lady Mu's face. Lady Mu's hair was blown up. She shouted in a deep voice, "I give up!" What? Another uproar came from outside. Just a moment ago, Luli was trapped and now he dashed out. Lady Mu felt her reaction was too slow. She didn't try to dodge and gave up so easily. Buzzing. The runes glowed and sent Lady Mu out. Luli stood where he was and looked at the mountain. Many people were pointing at him, and those on the list would look at him from time to time. I must win in a row. I must get 100 points as soon as possible and enter the semi-finals. Luli thought to himself. He took out the mountain and began to release worms of the void. He had just released hundreds of worms of the void when a warrior flew up from the mountain. Here came the next challenger. Peak of the second tribulation? Luli sensed and was relieved. If he could win in a row, he could get 2 points. If he could fight against dozens of warriors of the second tribulation, he could enter the semi-finals right away. That warrior looked awful. He complained about his bad luck. Luli had just defeated a warrior of the third tribulation, a warrior on the list. Luli didn't even have to use the Apotheosis Dojo to deal with someone at the peak of the second tribulation. He just dashed over. That warrior took out his weapon and was about to attack. However, Luli was so fast that the warrior didn't even have time to react. He was smashed away by Luli. Boom! That warrior was smashed into the shield. Blood oozed out from his mouth. He crawled up, cupped his fists to Luli and said, "Thank you for showing mercy. I admit defeat." Soon, that warrior was teleported out. Luli took a look and realized that someone must be controlling the runes. It must be the more than a dozen patriarchs that were guarding here. This warrior was not teleported out on his own. After a while, another warrior came. This time, he was at the initial stage of the second tribulation. He was nervous and he felt sweat on his forehead. When he came up, he didn't even prepare for a fight. He just stared at Luli nervously. Luli squinted his eyes and looked at him. After a while, Luli realized that he was not going to make a move. Luli quickly walked over without using the happy step. "I admit defeat, I admit defeat." That warrior's legs trembled in fear. Then, he stepped back and shouted in terror. Luli stopped and was speechless. Was he that scary? He didn't kill or maim his opponent just now. That warrior was teleported out. Luli looked around at the platforms in the air. After a while, he felt relieved. Many powerful warriors on the list had occupied a stone platform in the air, and they were all winning. Luli wouldn't fight against them for now. Yun Kaiwe, Tang Ning and Mengyun were not far away from him. They were also winning. Qinzhan had won 4 in a row on another stone platform. Lady Qiong was also winning. Feng Yima is good. Luli saw that Feng Yima had been standing on the stone platform. Feng Yima was on the stone platform before Luli did. He must have fought several times already. Lady Yi and Gon Lin were also on the stone platforms. Clearly, they were winning. There were more than 10,000 warriors in this tournament. Most of them were warriors of the second tribulation. It was reasonable for warriors of the third tribulation to win in a row, unless they were unlucky enough to run into a powerful warrior of the third tribulation. Just like when Luli fought against Lady Mu. If Luli was not as powerful as Lady Mu, then he wouldn't be able to win in a row. He would have to challenge again, and it would be slower for him to accumulate points. This was a reasonable strategy. It was a test of both fighting abilities and luck. Sometimes, luck was important as well. Luck was also a part of one's power. Whoosh! Clearly, Luli's luck was not very good. A figure flew up as fast as a rainbow. A girl with elegant and cold temperament landed in front of Luli. A talented disciple of a hidden family. Luli's expressions grew solemn. Qin Zhan told him about this girl. She was definitely more powerful than Qin Zhan. She wasn't on the list, but she should be as powerful as the top 20 on the list. Chapter 2046. There were some reclusive clans in the second heaven. These clans didn't even occupy the heavenly island. Instead, they occupied some secluded grotto heavens, spiritual mountains, and secret realms that were unknown to the outside world. For example, the Qin clan only occupied a big island, but the spiritual chi of heaven and earth on this big island was similar to that of the heavenly island, and there were many grotto heavens and blessed lands on it. The Qin clan had occupied this island for hundreds of thousands of years. As long as this island was not seized by other clans, the Qin clan would be able to prosper for generations to come. The girl was a disciple of a hidden family. Even Luli didn't know her name. Because this person had never appeared before, the outside world didn't have any information about her. She only appeared in this genius battle, so Qin Zhan didn't have much information about her. He only knew that she was very powerful. The lady was tall and slim, beautiful and cold. She looked at Luli as if he were a beast of primordial chaos, which made Luli uncomfortable. Blood Fairy, open the God's Investiture Dojo. Luli could not afford to be careless. His feet glowed as he stamped on the ground. Blood Fairy cooperated and went into the ground from under Luli's feet. The runes on the ground trembled as an invisible force spread across the entire floating platform. The woman's senses were very sharp, and she immediately sensed that something was wrong. A long sword appeared in her hand, and she kicked off the ground with one leg. As soon as her feet moved, her expression changed. She found that she could not move her divine power at all. Ha! Luli kicked against the ground and dashed toward the lady like a mad dragon. His divine energy was sealed as well, so he could not use the footwork of pleasure. However, this floating stone platform was only so big, so he was able to close the distance between them in an instant. Xiao! The woman reacted quickly and quickly retreated. Her eyes turned and her lips parted slightly as she asked, "You used a secret technique to seal space and divine power?" "Yes." Luli didn't try to hide it. He nodded and said, "Young lady, just admit defeat. You are no match for me when you cannot use divine energy." "Really?" The woman sneered and said, "Do you think that only your body is powerful? Do you think you can be invincible just by relying on your physical body?" The lady circled around and suddenly rushed towards Luli. She put away her sword and took out a dagger. The dagger was completely black and covered in divine patterns. It was obvious that it wasn't an ordinary item. "Ah!" She shouted and waved the dagger in her hand. The dagger moved in a blur and slid toward Luli's neck. This dagger must be incomparably sharp. Even if it could not be infused with divine power, it could still cut through iron like mud. Otherwise, this young lady would not be so confident. Luli had activated the trace of the Tao. His senses were sharp. He leaned to one side and threw a punch from his left, trying to smash the lady away. "You fell for it!" The lady kicked on the ground and flew up. Her boots glowed, and two black arrows flew out from her boot. They were aimed at Lu Li's crotch. Lu Li had seen men and women fight with their chests, but this was the first time he had seen a woman use such a dirty move, not to mention that she was a young lady of a big family. His physical body was indeed very strong, but he did not know how strong the defense of his crotch was, so he did not dare to take it head-on. He could only forcefully twist his body and use his thighs to take the 2 arrows head-on. Bang bang! 2 sounds of metal colliding came out. Lu Li felt the skin on his thighs was broken, but he was not badly hurt. Even so, he was shocked. His physical body was so strong, but his defense was cracked so easily. Die! The young lady's cold voice came out. With a shrill noise, Lu Li felt a gust of wind behind his ears. The young lady's dagger landed on the back of Lu Li's head. Bang! With another muffled sound, Lu Li felt a pain on the back of his head. The dagger had broken through his defense and went in a little bit. Even though the dagger could not go in completely, Lu Li was angered. He didn't care about the dagger at all. He swung his fist and punched back. Boom! The young lady was smashed away like a kite with a broken string. Lu Li's strength was too much for her. Lu Li turned around and touched the back of his head. He didn't look at the young lady. Instead, he looked at his thighs. There was black blood oozing out from the wound. The sleeve darts are poisoned. Lu Li's expressions grew colder. This young lady was not only obscene but also insidious. The arrow shot out from her boots was poisoned. Lu Li took out a healing pellet and felt it. He was relieved. The poison could corrode divine energy. Since he could not use divine energy now, the poison wouldn't be of much use to him. You are despicable and obscene. The young lady climbed up from the ground. She took out a piece of gauze to cover her waist and butt. Her pretty face was filled with shame and anger. Lu Li's punch landed on her buttock. Her dress was a piece of treasure, but it was torn by Lu Li. Her buttocks were covered in blood, revealing patches of white and red flesh. I am obscene? Lu Li was a bit surprised. Then he asked back, Lady, where did you shoot the sleeve dart at? Don't you know? You are a man and I am a woman. The young lady's eyes were spitting fire. She snorted and said, Also, didn't you dodge it? Your logic is invincible. Lu Li shrugged and said, Only women are allowed to use obscene moves and men are not allowed to fight back? You did it on purpose and I didn't do it on purpose. I dodged because I reacted quickly. Who are you to blame for not reacting quickly? Also, since you are on the battlefield, don't talk about men and women. If there are real enemies, do you think they will spare you just because you are a woman? If you are worried about this and that, you might as well stay at home and nurse your children. The woman was so angry that her delicate body trembled. She swallowed a healing pill, gritted her teeth, and rushed forward again. Her eyes were exceptionally cold as she shouted, I want you dead. No one has ever humiliated me like this since I was young. Her mentality, Lu Li shrugged his shoulders. He had underestimated this young lady. She was so easily enraged. When a young lady of a hidden family was on the battlefield, she could be killed easily. Whoosh, 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 the young lady flew up and shot out 4 arrows from her boots and sleeves at the same time. The angles of the arrows were vicious. 2 of them were aimed at Lu Li's eyes and the other 2 were aimed at his crotch. While Lu Li was dodging, she approached him quickly. She swung her dagger and slashed at Lu Li's neck. Lu Li moved slightly to avoid the vital parts. The dagger pierced into his chest. He did not hesitate to punch at the young lady's chest. Boom, boom, both of them were blasted away, but the robe in front of the woman's chest had been blasted open, and fresh blood was dripping down. Of the 2 prideful peaks, only one was left now, the other had been razed to the ground. Chapter 2047. Lu Li's fight had attracted many people's attention. For one, it was Lu Li's reputation. For another, it was a young lady from a hidden family. This young lady had never shown up in public before. This was her first time, and she was representing the hidden family, the Chow family. It had been hundreds of years since the Chow family sent out a representative. Naturally, this young lady was eye-catching. But the outcome of the fight was confusing. That being said, it was an eye-opener. A young lady from the hidden family, the Chow family, did not use any powerful skills. Instead, she resorted to concealed weapons. She dashed to Luli like a shrew and had a hand-to-hand fight. More importantly, Luli injured her buttocks and flattened her breasts. She was a young lady from a hidden family. Usually, warriors from small families could only catch a glimpse of her from the distance. But now they could witness such a busty scene. Many vulgar men were delighted. They wished Luli would blow up Lady Chow's clothes, make her kneel on the ground naked, and let Luli whip her. Of course, more people were confused. Why didn't Lady Chow use any skills? She must have treasures. Why didn't she use them? Did she want to fight Luli? Didn't she know how strong Luli was? Boom! Lady Chow was smashed away again. This time, Luli was not as obscene. He landed on her abdomen. She spat out blood and fell to the ground. Ah! Lady Chow crawled up again. Her hair was disheveled. She looked no different from a crazy woman. She dashed toward Luli while yelling. Luli was speechless. This was not the demeanor of a disciple from a noble family. Master! Right at that moment, Blood Fairy suddenly said, "There is a shadow under the platform. It has triggered the runes of the Apotheosis Dojo. I can feel it." Shadow? Luli was taken aback. The shadow must be something like lingering souls and spirit. They would not appear for no reason. There could only be one explanation. The shadow was released by this crazy lady. She is putting on a show. Luli's hair stood on end. This young lady's acting was so convincing that he believed her. He thought the young lady had lost her mind. Luli let down his guard against her. But who would have thought that this young mistress would release a killing move in secret? This woman was way too scheming. She was probably out to take his life. "Miss, stop attacking and admit defeat. Otherwise, you will be responsible for your own life and death," Luli shouted. His voice spread to the outside world. Even people on the mountains could hear it. Miss Chow roared, "Admit defeat? If I don't kill you, I won't rest." Lady Chow rushed towards Luli in a frenzy. She kept shooting out arrows from her sleeve and waving her dagger. Once again, she got close to Luli. It seemed that she had lost her mind. Roar! A tiger's roar suddenly came from under the stone platform. Then a black shadow flew out from under Luli's feet. If it were not for Blood Fairy's reminder, Luli would have smashed Lady Chow away, just like before, and the shadow would have the chance to catch up. But at this moment, he did not attack Miss Chow. Instead, his body turned into a blur and rushed to the left. The black shadow underground also missed. Huh! Seeing that Luli had left, Lady Chow was surprised. She didn't look like a crazy person at all. She couldn't seem to understand what had gone wrong. The black shadow that dashed out was indeed an remnant soul, like that of a powerful beast. A surge of ferocious energy spread out. Even Luli felt suffocated. Charge! Since sneak attacks did not work, he had to resort to force. That remnant soul entered Lady Chow's body, and she dashed toward Luli. Luli sneered. At his command, hundreds of worms of the void dashed out from underground and swarmed into Lady Chow's body. He himself stepped back and circled around the stone platform. What? Lady Chow was taken aback. How could she not notice that the worms of the void had entered her body? She stopped, took out a robe to cover herself up and took 2 healing pellets. Then, she said to Luli, "Tell your worms to leave. I admit defeat." Luli was not convinced. He replied, "Give up first. When you do, I will let the worms leave your body." Luli would not believe a word of Lady Chow's, unless he admitted defeat in public and quit. Disciples of hidden families were different from mortals. Her acting skills were superb. She did not mind that a young lady's chest was flattened. She kept putting on an act, trying to kill Luli in one move. Luckily, Blood Fairy had warned him. Otherwise, Luli would not know what would happen if he was attacked by that remnant soul. The remnant soul was horrifying. This young lady knew how to hold back. She did not let it out just to deal a fatal blow to Luli. Lady Chow's expressions changed. She was still hesitating. A glint of determination rose in her eyes. She did not surrender. Instead, she took out a pellet and swallowed it. After a moment, Lady Chow's energy was growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. She said coldly, "Since you do not know what is good for you, then I will make you disappear from this world." Lady Chow's eyes were as cold as a beast's. She did not look like a delicate young lady at all, but a war machine. Luli had thought this young lady of a hidden family was nothing special. Now, he realized that he had underestimated her. When Lady Chow was fighting, she did not treat herself as a woman. She had transformed into a war machine. Once the fight started, she would not think about how to defeat her opponent, but how to kill her opponent. Whoosh! Lady Chow dashed toward Luli in a frenzy. She was several times faster than Luli. Clearly, she had taken some kind of pellet to strengthen her body for a short period of time. Naturally, she would be faster as well. Dragon wings out. Luli's robe was torn. For the first time, he used his bloodline skill. As soon as his wings came out, his speed was multiplied. He ordered the worms of the void to devour Lady Chow's body. Lady Chow, who was running, stopped. She seemed to be in pain. She was trembling. Luli checked the worms of the void. He said with disdain, "Young lady, don't put on an act. Your body is strong now. Not even my worms can hurt you. You are good at acting. Unfortunately, I can see everything. I am just curious. How long can your pellet last? Will you still be able to resist my insects when the medicine is exhausted?" Luli could not help but exclaim that Lady Chow was still putting on an act at this moment. Luli could not help but exclaim that Lady Chow was still putting on an act at this moment. If Luli were an average warrior, he would have died in the hands of Lady Chow. Lady Chow's eyes were filled with anger. She yelled, "Aren't you the famous god of massacre from hell? Do you only know how to run? If you are a man, fight me. Or, if you release your divine energy, I can kill you in one move. Don't play these tricks. They are meaningless." Luli dashed away to keep a distance between them. The floating stone platform had a radius of 2 miles. As long as Luli was careful, Lady Chow would not be able to get close. He said coldly, "Miss, I've experienced tens of thousands of battles in my life, and I've seen all kinds of conspiracies. Your provocation is too low level. Stop insulting each other's intelligence. You can't beat me." "All right, I admit defeat." This time, Lady Chow shouted with determination. Her shout in public meant that she had lost and she would be teleported out soon. Chapter 2048. Miss Chow had been defeated in a rather baffling manner. Many people could not understand what had happened. Later on, a remnant soul of a beast came out. Luli kept running and then some insects came out. Lady Chow and Luli exchanged a few words and then she admitted defeat. When she was teleported out, she went to the more than a dozen powerful warriors guarding here and asked to be teleported out of the small world. In other words, she was out of the contest. Anyways, Lady Chow had lost and Luli had won. This was a fact that could not be changed. Even though the victory was baffling and some low-level warriors still did not understand, a victory was a victory. But a victory was a victory. A disciple of a hidden family, a warrior of the Third Tribulation, was defeated by Luli. Many people began to put up their guard against Luli. Some prayed that they would not have to face Luli. Many young ladies were disgusted by Luli. After all, Lady Chow was a girl. He had destroyed a mountain. From a female's point of view, it was natural for them to be disgusted. Luli took some healing pellet. The toxins in him faded away. The toxins could corrode divine energy. Luli did not even use divine energy. The toxins did not have an immediate effect. I must be careful of those hidden families. They will only send out one disciple for hundreds of years. They will not send out a good-for-nothing to disgrace themselves. Luli warned himself. He looked around and noticed that those he was paying attention to were still winning. It seemed that they would reach the top 100 soon. Whoosh, soon, a new opponent came. Luli took a look and breathed in relief. Second Tribulation warriors were less stressful for him. He told Blood Fairy to deactivate the Apotheosis Dojo. He did not use the Apotheosis Dojo to deal with average warriors. This was his unique skill, and he did not want everyone to know about it. That Second Tribulation warrior looked as if he had just lost his father. That being said, he was not afraid. He did not admit defeat right away. He used several moves, making sure that he could not break Luli's defense. He cupped his fists and left. Go on. Points were easier to earn. Besides, he did not have to fight against Yun Kaiwe, Tongning, and Mengyun. Some top 10 on the list were in the arena. If he were to leave the arena now, it would be troublesome if he had to fight against them, which would affect his progress. One opponent after another flew up. Luli's next 7 fights went smoothly. All of them were Second Tribulation warriors. Apart from one at the peak of the Second Tribulation who had a secret artifact that caused Luli some trouble, the others were defeated by Luli easily. Lady Ian Gonlin had been winning. What surprised Luli was, Feng Yima was winning as well. He must have won more than a dozen. The Asmodean Lord had chosen him in person. This man had some foundation. His abilities should be around the middle stage of the Third Tribulation. Similarly, Yun Kaiwe, Tongning and the others never came down from the arena. Luli secretly paid attention to Yun Kaiwe, trying to see his special moves and real abilities. What a pity his reputation was too great, and his aura was too strong. Many people who went up immediately surrendered when they saw that it was him. He estimated that he had won more than 30 battles in a row, which was twice as many as Luli. The second ranker on the genius ranking had an unparalleled aura. He stood there like a peerless, ferocious beast. Ordinary people would tremble in fear if they went up against him. How could they still have the mood to fight? Therefore, Luli had observed him for many times, but he didn't see him release any strange moves. He would just take out a spear and stab at it, and his opponent would admit defeat. Luli looked around. Suddenly, he saw that lady. She was the one with a veil over her face. Yun Kaiwe was looking at her since the beginning of the battle on the genius horse. Luli suspected that she might be Yin Qingxi, the number 1 on the genius ranking. Since Yun Kaiwe didn't look at anyone but this lady, Luli paid special attention to her. This was the first time this lady went up against a warrior at the peak of the Second Tribulation. Luli had just finished his fight. He looked over, trying to see this person's fighting style so that he could make some conclusions. Boom! As soon as the veiled lady came up, she waved her sleeves. A gentle breeze blew over. The space trembled. Her opponent was smashed into the shield. Blood oozed out from his mouth. I admit defeat. The warrior at the peak of the Second Tribulation gave up without any hesitation. This lady gave him a horrifying feeling. It was as if he had encountered a patriarch of his family. He was no match for her. Many people on the mountain noticed this, which caused quite a stir. After all, this lady was too mysterious. Nobody knew her. She had a good temperament and figure. Naturally, some young masters would pay attention to her. However, this lady was so powerful that she could defeat a warrior at the peak of the Second Tribulation with a wave of her hand. Many people began to speculate about this lady's identity. Some said she was a hidden disciple of the 36 Forces. Others said she was a disciple of a hidden family that had just emerged. Some thought she was Inqingxi, the number one on the genius ranking list. They saw how Yun Kaiwe looked at this lady. Look, Yun Kaiwe is paying attention to that lady. Someone shouted. Many people turned around and saw that Yun Kaiwe was indeed looking at the veiled lady. He was not secretly sizing her up. He was standing with his hands clasped behind his back, facing the veiled lady. He was watching her fight her second opponent openly. Her second opponent was at the peak of the second tribulation. Similarly, the lady waved her sleeves and that warrior was smashed away. He was injured at once. It felt as if they were not at the same level. She is probably Inqingxi, the number one on the genius ranking list. Someone shouted. Yun Kaiwe was arrogant. He didn't care about the other hidden disciples of the major families, except for this lady. Who else could it be other than Inqingxi, who was ranked higher than him? If she really is Inqingxi, then she is not the blind. Even though the lady's face was covered and her eyes could not be seen, Luli was sure that she was not the blind. He hadn't seen the blind for many years, but he could still remember her temperament. This lady's temperament was completely different from the blind's. Luli couldn't even sense a trace of familiarity from the veiled lady. No matter how hard a person tried to disguise themselves, habitual actions could not be changed. There would at least be a sense of familiarity between friends. Another opponent came. Luli paid no more attention to the veiled lady. He focused on the fight. This time, it was a warrior at the third tribulation, but just an average one. Luli didn't activate the Apotheosis Dojo. He fought with his physical strength. This man was not bad. He managed to break Luli's defense and hurt him a bit. Luli could have defeated him easily, but he chose to stall for some time. Luli was hiding his strength. He didn't want to attract too much attention, and he didn't want to show off his abilities. He didn't want to give his enemies the wrong impression that he was not particularly powerful. The fight came to an end after the time for 3 incense sticks to burn. Yun Kaiwe had won 40 fights in a row. He was about to accumulate 100 points to advance to the next level. Right at that moment, there came a miserable cry. When Luli looked over, he was stunned. Up until now, there had been so many fights. Some were seriously injured and some were disabled, but no one had died yet. For the first time, there was a death, and it was a warrior at the third tribulation. He was cut in half and died without an intact body. Chapter 2049. The contest of geniuses didn't involve life or death. But strictly speaking, it was just a competition. Geniuses from different families would gather together to compete with each other to improve themselves. At the same time, it was for the chance to enter the secret realm of primordial chaos. Therefore, this was not a real fight to the death. Generally speaking, there were no grudges between the participants, so they wouldn't kill each other. Unless they had no other choice, they would kill themselves if they didn't. The point system was used in the martial arts competition to avoid too many deaths. If one couldn't win this one, it didn't mean that one couldn't make it to the next level. If one continued to win, one could still make it to the next level. Many people looked at the killer. It was a young man in black, emotionless. His hair was braided and he had earrings on his ears. He gave off an evil vibe. Who is he? I don't know. I have never seen or heard of him. I didn't notice him when I came in. Is he a disciple of a hidden family? That doesn't make sense. How can a genius from a hidden family make enemies for his family? The one who died was the divine son of the palace of Chongyang, one of the 36 forces. Soon, people on the mountain began to discuss. Nobody knew this evil young man. If he were a famous warrior, then people wouldn't be so surprised. Moreover, the one who was killed was a godson from one of the 36 great forces. This made people even more puzzled. The palace of Chongyang was an old great force, not like the few new forces that had just appeared. The great demon king had destroyed a few great forces, and now those heavenly islands were occupied, and new great forces were established to fill up the spots of the 36 great forces. The evil young man in black stood there coldly, as if the one he just killed was not the divine son of the palace of Chongyang, but a 3-star beast of chaos. Another challenger came up from Lu Li's side. It was a second tribulation divine god. Lu Li didn't make a move. He kept looking at the young man in black, wondering if the next challenger would be killed. Seeing that Lu Li didn't move, the challenger didn't move either. He stood there and stared at Lu Li. Soon, a new challenger came up. Many people looked over. It was a warrior at the peak of the second tribulation. The warrior at the peak of the second tribulation was under great pressure. He was nervous, but he didn't admit defeat. He made up his mind and prepared to fight for a while. He wouldn't admit defeat now. If he did, the evil young man wouldn't be able to kill him. That would be against the rules. Under everyone's gaze, the black-clothed young man held a halberd and didn't move. He just looked coldly at the peak of the second tribulation. The latter gritted his teeth and rushed forward, releasing a rather decent true meaning in an attempt to force the black-robed young man to retreat. Hiss, the black-robed youth didn't move. He swung his halberd and struck forward. This strike did not cause too much of a commotion, but something that shocked everyone happened. His halberd easily struck the head of the peak second tribulation cultivator. The peak second tribulation cultivator didn't even know how to dodge. He just foolishly stopped in midair. Then, the peak second tribulation cultivator's head shattered and he died immediately. Wow, another person died, and this time, he was killed in one move. There were no fancy moves, and there was not much of a commotion. It was as easy as a martial artist killing a chicken or a duck. The most important thing was that the black-robed young man could have severely injured his opponent, but he chose to kill him instead. He crushed his opponent's head with a single strike of his halberd without any hesitation. Many of the elders leading the teams frowned, and some of them had killing intent in their eyes. Some patriarchs of the palace of Chongyang had started to ask about this man's identity and were plotting revenge. Violence was forbidden at the Island of Chaos, but he had to go back after the fight. If he took the teleportation formation back, then they would have the guts to kill him on the way. The Divine Son was the future Grand Master of their forces. Killing their Divine Son, even though it was within the rules, would be a slap to the face of the palace of Chongyang. If they didn't do something, they would be laughed at by the world. This man is strong. Lu Li squinted. He saw something. The halberd seemed to be light and slow, but it was fast. Otherwise, that warrior at the peak of the second tribulation wouldn't have been killed instantly without dodging. Law of time. Lu Li was deep in thoughts. He had learned the fundamental meaning of time, but he couldn't use it to attack. Of course, he didn't fight this black-robed young man, so he couldn't be sure if this man was using the law of time. Whoosh! While Lu Li was in deep thoughts, his opponent suddenly made a move. He sneaked over like a fox, trying to sneak up on Lu Li. Lu Li pretended that he didn't see a warrior at the second tribulation. When the warrior came over, Lu Li slapped him away. Bang! Lu Li's strength was too great. The warrior was smashed into the shield and rolled over on the ground. He crawled up in fear and looked at Lu Li, only to realize that Lu Li wasn't looking at him at all. Lu Li was still looking at the black-robed young man. I give up. The warrior knew that he was not at the same level as Lu Li. If he continued to fight, he would only be humiliating himself. He had to shout. The black-robed young man had another opponent, a warrior at the second tribulation. But as soon as he went up, he shouted, I give up, I give up. 2 people had died in a row. This man was not an idiot. Lu Li could kill the divine son of the palace of Chongyang. Killing him would be no different than killing a pig or a dog. I give up. I give up. Several warriors went up and all of them gave up. It was the same for Luli. It was the same for Yun Kaiwe and Tang Ning. After so many fights, there was no longer any doubt about the abilities of these warriors. Fighting them would only invite humiliation. The girl who was suspected to be the number one on the list, Yin Qingxi, had been winning as well. Those who went up would either be injured by her or they would give up. Her abilities were as unpredictable as that of the black-robed young man. Luli believed that she was a powerful warrior at the same level as Yun Kaiwe. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Yun Kaiwe was the first to reach the top 100. He flew down and landed on the top of the hill. Many went to congratulate him at once. He just nodded, unfazed by honor or disgrace. Soon, more and more people made it to the top 100. Dream Clouds, Tang Ning and the top 10 all had a winning streak. They didn't lose once. An hour later, Lady Yi Ganlin, Luli and Feng Yima all made it to the top 100. Lady Qin Zhanxiong made it to the top 100 as well. Lady Mu was defeated by Luli and she only had about 60 points. It was uncertain if she could make it to the top 100. Well done. When Luli and the other 3 landed, Axe Demon nodded with satisfaction and said, "We didn't disgrace the Omen Island. When we get back, I will ask the Asmodean Lord and you for the credit." Luli and the other 3 bowed to express their gratitude. Axe Demon said in a low voice, "The fight to get to the top 100 is just the beginning. I think you have seen it. There are so many geniuses in this fight. The fights to come will be more difficult. I hope you will not be arrogant and rash. All of you can make it to the top 30. In that way, the Asmodean Lord and I will be proud." Top 30? Luli squinted. He didn't care if he could make it to the top 30 or not. All he wanted was to kill Yun Kaiwe. If he ran into Yun Kaiwe as soon as he entered the semifinals, Luli wouldn't care about the rest of the fights after he killed him. What he cared about more was whether he could kill Yun Kaiwe and how he could get back to the Omen Island safely after that. P.S. That's the 4th chapter. Also, for those reading on the QQ Reading Center, there was a poll on QQ, 2017 Most Popular Author. Chapter 2050. The ranking on the list was accurate. At least, the top 30 were quite capable. After Luli and the others made it to the next level, more and more people made it to the next level. The top 30 were the fastest. That being said, not many people paid attention to them. Most of them were looking at 2 people. One was the young man in black, who killed 2 people, and the other was the girl who was suspected to be the number 1 on the list, Yin Qingxi. After Yun Kaiwe made it to the next level, his eyes never left the veiled girl. He didn't move his eyes away even when someone was talking to him. There could only be 2 explanations for Yun Kaiwe to pay so much attention to her. Either Yun Kaiwe liked this girl or she was Yin Qingxi, who was ranked higher than him. It was unlikely that Yun Kaiwe liked a girl. He was known to be obsessed with martial arts. Over the years, there was no rumor of him having an affair with any young lady. He had passed the 3rd heaven tribulation 7 or 8 years ago. Other young masters and young ladies would have slacked off and enjoyed their youth. However, Yun Kaiwe had been staying in the Tower of Sacred Essence and never stepped out. There was a rumor that Yun Kaiwe was the son of Yun Chueshue's concubine. Yun Kaiwe was not treated well and his mother was often bullied. When Yun Kaiwe was young, he swore that he would cultivate until he was stronger than Yun Chueshue. Then, he would make Yun Chueshue apologize to his mother on his knees. No one knew if the rumor was true, but Yun Kaiwe's reputation as a martial arts addict was probably true. This time, he rarely responded to anyone who greeted him, not even the chosen ones from the top 10 forces. If this person wasn't arrogant and supercilious, then he wasn't good at socializing or didn't like it. Therefore, many people believed that Yun Kaiwe had been staring at the veiled girl because she was Yin Qingxi. Some people went to ask Yun Kaiwe, but Yun Kaiwe didn't say anything. Even if she is not the number 1 on the list, Yin Qingxi is strong. She can be as strong as the top 5 on the list. Luli murmured with certainty after watching the veiled girl fight several times. Just now, a warrior who had undergone 3 trials was wounded by the veiled girl. Luli didn't think he could do it so easily. I know who that young man in black is. Gan Lin whispered to Luli. He should be a descendant of a force that was destroyed tens of thousands of years ago, the Eastern Devil Palace. His spear technique is exactly the same as that of the Eastern Devil Palace Lord. It's a very powerful killing move. When Axe Demon heard Gan Lin's words, he glanced over and didn't say anything. He should have tacitly agreed with Gan Lin's words. Gan Lin thought about it and said, Luli, if you run into this person, you must be careful. Warriors of the Eastern Devil Palace are born to be bloodthirsty. Back in the days, they were destroyed because they had committed too many murders. They angered the public and many forces joined forces to attack them. Who would have thought that after tens of thousands of years, their descendants would appear again? The people of the Eastern Devil Palace are all natural killers. As long as they fight, they will try their best to kill their enemies. They will not rest until they are dead. Missy nodded slightly, obviously recognizing the identity of the black-clothed young man. Feng Yima probably did not know and was listening curiously. Seeing that Gan Lin understood the situation so well, Luli asked the masked lady, Do you know who this man is? Is it Yin Qingxi, the number 1 genius on the genius list? I don't know about that. Gan Lin shook his head and so did Miss E. Gan Lin explained, Nobody has seen Yin Qingxi. This man is masked so we cannot be sure. Even if he is not Yin Qingxi, he must be a talented disciple of a hidden family. Feng Yima added, This man is very strong. Not even I can win against him. You must be careful when you run into him. Luli and the others rolled their eyes. Feng Yima would lose his temper if he didn't show off. He had made it to the genius list as well, but he was not that strong. He made it sound like he was more powerful than the 3 of them. This man is more powerful than Yun Kaiwe, Axe Demon suddenly said. He looked at the 3 and said in a low voice, She is probably Yin Qingxi, the number 1 genius on the genius list. Axe Demon's voice was not loud, but some people were not far away. His words were heard at once. Axe Demon's words carried weight. The news spread further and further. Soon, everyone knew that the masked woman was Yin Qingxi. After Axe Demon finished his words, Luli turned to Yun Kaiwe. While others were discussing, Yun Kaiwe's expressions didn't change. It must be Yin Qingxi and it is just someone with the same name. Luli was sure of this. If the lady was not Yin Qingxi, Yun Kaiwe would have changed his expression even if he didn't say anything. Yun Kaiwe didn't say anything, which was a tacit agreement. Luli was disappointed. He thought he didn't run into any familiar faces. The blind was his friend from the 9 universes. Now, it seemed that it was just someone with the same name. The young man from the Eastern Devil Palace progressed very fast. All his opponents would admit defeat as soon as they went up. None of them fought later. None of the powerful warriors fought against him. They were all warriors of the 2nd tribulation or average of the 3rd tribulation. The young man from the Eastern Devil Palace floated down after he made the breakthrough. Those around him stepped to the sides. Nobody dared to get close to him. The young man walked to a corner and sat down, ignoring everyone's stares. The lady who was supposed to be Yin Qingxi made it to the top 100 easily. Just like Yun Kaiwe and the young man from the Eastern Devil Palace, she didn't use any powerful moves. Her opponents were too weak to force them to do so. More and more people were making it to the next stage. The number had reached 60 or 70. In an hour at most, the top 100 would be announced. Luli didn't chat with anyone. He stared at the arenas, watching people using different kinds of moves and skills to broaden his knowledge. At the same time, he wanted to take the chance to learn something. Lady Yi and Gon Lin were doing the same. Only Feng Yima sneaked to the side and gathered with some young masters and young ladies. His face was glowing and he was drooling. Clearly, he was bragging again. An hour later, the top 100 was announced. Apart from one who was killed, all the top 30 on the list had made it to the next stage. Disciples of more than a dozen hidden families made it to the next stage as well. Lu Li and the other 3 from the Omen Island made it to the next stage. Of course, there were also a few dark horses this time. The most eye-catching were the disciples of the Eastern Devil Palace. Only 2 people had died in the competition this time, and they were both killed by him. One of them was the divine son of the Chongyang Palace. This result was not too surprising. Many people had come to participate in the battle already mentally prepared. More of the disciples of the smaller clans had come to broaden their horizons and network. The top 100 is here. The tournament is over. Teleport back to the City of Chaos. An old man shouted, "Prepare for the top 100. The semi-finals will begin in 5 days. The top 30 will have the chance to cultivate in the secret realm of primordial chaos for a year." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.